This is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man, how the heck are you? One last ride in Maui, the Monty Show, live in Hui. Can you believe it's over already?
It's over already.
We have been here for almost 2 weeks solid. After the show, we hop on a bird and we head back. Like it's Utah.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? We'll be back in the great state of Utah in about 24 hours from now, if you can believe that. So looking forward to getting home. We will be live on Friday morning. We'll have Football Friday for you with all of our locks, all of our picks. We'll talk a lot of BYU in Oregon, Utah, and San Diego State, of course, the NFL. We've got all that for you on Friday. But today, we have a lot of BYU for you. Obviously, Harris LaChance is going to join the show as he does every Wednesday. And by the way, everybody's been asking, hey, man.
Hey, guys.
Are you guys going to keep doing the show at this time? No, we're not. We'll be back at 6:30 on Monday morning for you. So we're looking, or I guess on Friday we'll do the show at 6:30.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll be back Friday morning at 6:30. That'll be good. Looking forward to that. Today on the show, we'll start looking at BYU and Oregon because it's interesting. The line is creeping up in favor of Oregon. So more, I would think more money's coming in on Oregon. That line was 3.5. It's now in some places, Oregon is favored by 4 points. On the surface, I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what you have to understand is that so this whole concept of, the home team is going to get 3 points, just right out the gate. So when I look at the points and where it's coming in, being 3.5 or, in some places 4, to me just isn't, I don't think it's that much disrespect to BYU. They're essentially saying, no, because they're essentially saying that Oregon is 1 point better than BYU. That's essentially what they're saying with that line. So to me, I mean, certainly BYU on the road in Eugene, they're not going to be favored. That's just not going to happen. So I think it's a perfectly respectable line.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. What I say about this, and what I've always said about this, is that I think the boys in Vegas rarely get it wrong. And I think when you look at lines, obviously lines are created to make people spend money, to bet on games. Totally get that. But at the end of the day, when you look at the lines and you look how close the final score is, the numbers are pretty close. I personally believe BYU is going to go up and they're going to win a close game. I think it's ridiculous that the 12th team in the country is a 4-point dog. Even if they're on the road, I think it's ridiculous that they're a 4-point dog to the 25th team in the country. Yeah,
I mean, again, and this is the conversation we've been having throughout the week, like how much does the AP matter? How much do rankings matter? And so, when I like for me personally, when I'm getting ready to talk about these matchups and everything, I don't really take into account, the 2015, the 12th team, the 20th team. Like the ranking to me.
You don't?
No, because the ranking to me doesn't matter as much as the storyline of the season. And what a lot of people are saying about Oregon right now is, in week 1, you got absolutely boat raced by Georgia. This past week, you had a nice 70-point performance against a nobody. And so this week against BYU, people kind of feel like, hey, this is sort of the get-back game opportunity for Oregon. And that's why I think there's money coming in on Oregon, because people feel like, hey, they had a nice little showing against, a nobody, and now they're going to come out against BYU. But I don't necessarily even agree with that.
Wow. I totally disagree. I think, without question, when I'm picking games, I look at where they're ranked. I look at how they played. Like the thing with Oregon is, what have we seen from Oregon that's at all impressive this year? I mean, even like Eastern Washington Technical Cooking School was not an impressive win. Like that does not impress me. That does not move me at all. I think Bo Nix was an average-ass quarterback last year when he was at Auburn.
Facts.
I think Bo Nix is an average-ass quarterback now that he's wearing the Ducks uniform. Like, I just think he's part of the problem. They're not talented at wide receiver, certainly not as talented as BYU. I think they're going to struggle to stop the run and to run the ball. Like, I just don't see a lot of matchups in this Oregon game with BYU that go to Oregon. And I see a BYU team that went into very difficult conditions in Tampa and handily beat South Florida. Even with all the delays, even with every reason in the world not to play well, they played very well. They came home. They handled a very, very good Baylor team. Like, you have every reason in the world to believe that BYU is ready to play this game, and I don't see a whole lot of ways that Oregon has prepared or is ready to win this game.
Yeah, from a football perspective, I completely agree. I think what's happening, and again, this is what usually happens to BYU, if I'm being honest. The PR machine or the storytelling that happens about Oregon always seems to point or to paint Oregon in a very favorable way. And so, again, what I think is happening right now is people are saying, hey, Oregon is a team that we know last year was really good, and this year should also have been pretty good, but they've struggled early. So I think the feeling is, when will they get back on track? Now, I'm with you. I think that BYU has a great chance to win this game. I completely agree. I think BYU's defense is going to come out. BYU's defense is going to come out. They're going to stop the run. I think Max Tooley has another big game, another double-digit tackle game, and I think that BYU controls this game or controls the clock. But what you can't have in this game is any type of turnover from Jaron or any type of silly giveaways. I think if you start turning the football over in this game, you're asking for trouble. But if you play your game, if you execute and you do what you've been doing, BYU is going to be just fine in this game.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that there is a perception versus reality issue for BYU. I think the brand at Oregon is really strong, and to me, I think that's why you're looking at a situation where I think BYU's not getting the respect they deserve. I understand it's Oregon. I understand it's Phil Knight begging for a place in the Big Ten. I totally get that. I just don't think that should play a major role here, and I think it is. And I disagree with it. All right, let's get some of your thoughts in here, because a lot of people are asking about the Saturday event.
Yes.
Jesse Harsh says, how many people will be at barbecue pit stop on Saturday? Remember that Saturday we are announcing the winner of the BYU Notre Dame drive-away to see BYU and Notre Dame in Las Vegas. And it's been an avalanche of entries. I mean, I am humbly shocked. I am humbly shocked at how many people have entered this contest, have asked about the contest, have gone to barbecue pit stop. It has been remarkable.
So we probably had, because we put entry boxes in all these locations. Obviously, we've been telling you to go into the different locations. We probably had, I don't know, between 50 to 100 entry forms per entry box at each location. And there's like 3 of the locations that are like, yeah, we had to stop taking entries because we're overwhelmed. So, I mean, that kind of puts into perspective how many people have entered to win these tickets. And I do think quite a few people are going to show up. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah,
barbecue pit stop in Lehigh on Saturday. We're going to do our football Saturday show. They're starting at noon. The BYU-Oregon game kicks off at 1:30 on Fox. We'll watch that game. We're going to have a dozen pizzas from Papa Murphy's. We are going to have wings from Don's Meat. Don is somebody that we've done business with for several years. That's where we get our wings. So Don's going to kick in some wings for us. We're going to have a couple of Traeger smokers there. We're going to smoke the pizzas, smoke the wings.
By the way, our own personal pizza recipe will be at this event. The barbecue sauce, what we tell you, so you're going to be able to try it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Join us at Barbecue Pit Stop Saturday in Lehigh. It is going to be a great time. And then at halftime, we'll take all of those entries from all of the different barbecue pit stops, and we're going to have them in a little hopper. We'll shake it up, and we'll pull one winner, and we're going to send somebody to Las Vegas to see BYU take on Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series. Yeah, you get 2 nights at the Palms Casino Resort. You get 2 tickets to the game and a $250 gas card to get you there. And it is all presented by our good friends at Barbecue Pit Stop. Make sure that and if you want to enter and you haven't entered yet, it's going to be tough to do that. I'll be honest with you. But you can ask them on their website, barbecuepitstop.com. You see it on the screen there. They have a little chat feature. If you show up on Saturday before kickoff, during the Football Saturday show, we'll have a box on the table for you before kickoff, because once it kicks off, that's it. Contest is closed. But I know a lot of people procrastinated, and I warned you about this. Don't procrastinate. Get to Barbecue Pit Stop and get that filled out. But I know there's a lot of people who went in, for instance, the Barbecue Pit Stop in Murray was just getting so much interest in it that they had to take the box down. It's crazy. So that's going to be Saturday. Be there by noon. If you get there noon or later, I mean, that's cool, but I would tell you be there at noon. If you're there and you want to talk some football, we might even put you on the show. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a really good time. Barbecue Pit Stop, Lehigh, Saturday at noon. We're going to start our show. I know guys like Gabe Ledley are flying in from Phoenix.
They're flying in from other markets. Let's go.
Greg Hawkins says he's going to be there. So when the question's asked, how many people are going to be there, I really have no idea.
Are we clear?
I do not know. How that's going to happen. Karen Montemayor joins the show.
Okay, Karen.
Can we enter at the event on Saturday? Yes, as I said, we'll put a box on the table. But you have to be there before 1:30 kickoff. If you are not entered in the contest now, the only way to enter is to show up at Barbecue Pit Stop on Saturday in Lehigh from noon to essentially 1 o'clock. I'll have a box on our table, and you can enter to win there, but that's really it. That is really it. Isaac Aguiar says we need some Jazz talk. That's coming up in about 50 minutes. Harris LaChance, the BYU offensive lineman, will join us coming up here at 10:30. And then at 11 o'clock, we will do an entire hour of Jazz, Isaac. So stick around for that.
Don't worry, we are ready.
Jake Gordon says, I'd love to talk football with you guys. Show up on Saturday,
Let's do
Jake.
it, man.
And
Let's do it.
We'll absolutely do that. Lopes fan Gabe says, Saturday can't come quick enough. Let's go, casuals. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Let's see. Jesse Harsh. Let's go, boys. What's the biggest difference between Jaren and Cam when it comes to quarterback? Who's better? And is there a talent gap? I think Jaren, no knock on Cam. Well, it's funny because we talked about that exact thing before the show today.
Wanted pre-show meeting.
Yeah, is Jaren Hall the best quarterback in Utah? I think that's really close. I'm a huge fan of Cam Rising. I think his leadership, his experience, I think absolutely the things that he does for this football team at Utah. There's a lot of intangibles, leadership on the field, off the field. But Jaren Hall this year is very clearly not the same quarterback he's been during his time at BYU. One, he knock on wood, is healthy. Two, I just think his play on the field has significantly improved. I think his reads, there's still some judgment things I'd love to see him clean up. But his reads, his pre-snap work is much better this year, I think, than it was last year. I think his ability to work in play action and to create space for his receivers by moving the pocket, I think has risen exponentially. You can see his chemistry and leadership with his wide receiver room was very evident with Chase Roberts. I think there's no doubt about that. Like, Jaren Hall has taken a significant step forward. A year ago, Cam Rising was by far the best quarterback in the state. I think now Jaren Hall is the better quarterback of the two. I think we're going to see what happens when this club runs into some adversity. I think that's going to be a huge question mark as to, hey, what's this going to look like when they lose a game? I mean, what's going to happen if they lose to Oregon this weekend? What does Jaren Hall do as a leader? That's where we're going to find out who he is. But, yeah, I mean, if we're comparing apples to apples, I think Jaren Hall's a better quarterback right now than Cam Rising, Jake.
Yeah, and I think last year the biggest hole in Jaren's game was having touch in the different ways you have to throw the football. I think Jaren last year felt the need to at times push the envelope in the run game because he wasn't as proficient of a passer as he is now. And I think against Baylor, you really saw him make every throw. I mean, whether it was a throw that needed more air under it and more touch and kind of put it in the breadbasket type throw, or one that needed to be a fastball, to get it into a tight window. I think Jaren, the development in the passing game to me is what's really allowed him to take the next step. That said, I think it's really close, mainly because Cam Rising has the experience on his side. I think Cam obviously with the Rose Bowl and everything that went down with that, like I think there's just no value you can put on that type of experience.
Sure.
So to me, my opinion is who's better. Let's say I think I'd probably take Jaron right now because of the athleticism on top of the development in the passing game, but I think it's nitpicking at best.
Yeah, I don't know that one's better than the other. I think that's very close. Karen Montemayor says, "Can you guys please come back to Utah? The state is not the same without you."
Yeah, we're working on it. We have we're coming home today. This is our last show on the road, and then Friday we'll be back in studio and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm excited to get home. You know what the funny thing is? I actually miss my dogs.
Yeah.
The thing I miss most over the last 2 weeks, and it has been just about a full 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I miss my dogs. It's crazy. Like they're at a little dog retreat, if you will,
A little doggy hotel.
Yeah, and they send us pictures every day of them playing, and it doesn't help. It makes me miss my dogs more. Cody Strickland says, hey, guys, what kind of pizza will you guys be having? Artichoke and chicken?
Well, we told Papa Murphy's to give us a variety of different pizzas. So there's going to be a lot of different options. I can't 100% confirm if we'll have an artichoke chicken one.
Yeah, it's 12 large pizzas, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's 12 large pizzas.
That's a lot. That's a lot of pizza. Good morning, Gabe Rasmussen. What's up with you? Neville93 says, good morning, lads. We miss you guys back here in Utah. See you tomorrow. Can BYU, Zayman says, can BYU play great defense against this Ducks speed? I don't necessarily believe that the Ducks are fast, but they don't have, like route running is something that's vastly underrated in college football, the importance of running a good route. Like the wide receiver room at Oregon is not deep. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we're seeing is this BYU secondary is vastly improved. There's a lot more ability and talent in that BYU secondary now that we've seen over the last couple of years. And there's clearly been developmental time, effort, like a program that's growing at BYU. And if you follow me on Twitter, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, they got another commitment this morning from a kid in Fort Collins, Colorado. Like they're just winning the recruiting war right now. Like BYU is recruiting at a very high level, but they're also developing that talent. So when you look at Oregon's always going to be talented. They're always going to be fast because they're Oregon. I just think that there is a vacuum of development there right now.
Yeah.
And I think BYU is catching them at the right time. By the way, one of the things I think is so interesting about this game is it's not a home at home. It's a one-stop shop. So BYU going to Eugene to play at Autzen against Oregon, they're also getting $1.1 million worth of a paycheck in this game because, well, there's not a return date.
Yeah.
So this is not only a really important game on the field, this is a game of financial consequence for BYU. So this is a huge weekend for BYU. This game is really, really important. I think credibility-wise, I mean, we saw the Big 12 tweeting about BYU. We saw the fact that BYU and Baylor was the most watched nighttime slot game, late night slot game for ESPN since 2016.
It's a big deal, man.
This is a big, big deal. BYU is, how do I say it? BYU is a major program. BYU has the most momentum that I think they've had since I've been covering this team, and that's 2013. So going on almost 10 seasons, I've never seen this BYU product have more momentum than it has now, whether that be financial, whether that be, again, you look at the Oregon game, you look at the money in that game, you look at the Baylor game, the ratings on that game, like the fans that showed up in Tampa, you look at the momentum of this team going into the Big 12. That's why this season is so important. And I know I've talked this into the ground, but BYU cannot look past this year. What's going on this season is just so critical. And I'll ask Harris this coming up here in about 10 minutes. Harris LaChance will join us on the show as he does every Wednesday, presented by Papa Murphy's Pizza. But you look at what this team has right now, and I don't think you can use any other word but momentum, because they're just so, in my mind, they're just doing so well. They're winning big games. They're
Yes.
winning big recruits. They're making good money. Tons of people are watching.
They're just flat out executing. In every facet of the program.
It's remarkable to have the biggest audience in a late night window on ESPN since 2016.
Yeah.
That's Pac-12 After Dark, and you put BYU on TV, people are going to watch. That's the amazing thing. And I just think when you look at everything that's going on with BYU, it's awfully difficult to overlook the fact that, this program right now is dominating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that from a viewership standpoint, I think it's hugely important in the time we're in with college football expansion and the Big 12 conversation about them adding teams and everything that's going on. It is really, really important right now to continue to send that message through numbers that BYU does have that fan base, that BYU can pull big numbers in primetime slots. And I would remind you, I this is a 1:30 kick. That is a good window to be in this
That's
this
a primetime
weekend.
Saturday window.
Yeah, and so to me, I just look at the schedule, and again, I know before the season started, before they went out to Florida and played in that messy-ass game, we were all talking about, hey, this is a really difficult schedule. But I have to say, I feel like Kalani has this program grounded right now in a very good place mentally. They're worried about executing and not the fact that they want a double overtime game. It's just crazy. If you watch the media availabilities or players talking, they all are very much in line and ready to go. And,
Yes.
and I think that is why the program is executing. That is why the program is in a better place. And that's ultimately why you're climbing the ranks. This is why.
Exactly right. The Monty Show is presented by the Advocates, Utah Injury Attorneys, UtahAdvocates.com. Make sure you check them out online. And listen, I think that the name says it all. The Utah Advocates are your advocate. When you've been in a car accident or you're injured, you're not your best self, maybe you're not thinking the way you need to be thinking, that's why you go to UtahAdvocates.com. And the best part is it costs you no money out of pocket. The last thing you need to be doing when you've had a major motorcycle accident or major car wreck is to be reaching into your pocket, spending money that maybe you don't have. Well, the Utah Advocates are going to help you with that too. They're going to defer your medical bills. They're not going to charge you for your consultation. So many injury attorneys want to get into your pocket the minute that you reach out to them. That's not the case at the Advocates. They know your health is paramount. You need somebody to fight for you. That's why you go to the Advocates. Free, no-cost consultation. Then the best part is you don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. That's right. They're so confident in their ability to help you get what you deserve to make you whole again that at the Advocates, you don't go into your pocket unless and until they win their case. Hook it up right now. UtahAdvocates.com. Proudly presenting the Monty Show. We appreciate Matt Driggs and all the guys at the Advocates. They're a great firm. I've known the guys at the Advocates since 2013. We were partners back at the old 1320K Fans. So great to have them right here back on the Monty Show. The biggest stories in sports this morning, I think obviously this situation with the Utah Jazz. Don't forget, coming up in about 40 minutes, we're going to switch gears and talk about the Jazz press conference yesterday, or really 2 days ago, the interview that Craig Bolerjack did with Danny Ainge. All of these things around the Jazz, and I just don't know where the Jazz are headed and why they've made a couple of decisions they've made. It's very interesting. The wording that you're going to hear from Danny Ainge is really critical. We'll have some of that for you coming up at about 11 o'clock right here on the Monty Show. Harris LaChance coming up in about 6 minutes as we get you ready for BYU and Oregon. Don't forget, by the way, Utah and San Diego State.
Huge game.
That's a huge game as well.
Game.
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that from here on out, after what is now, I think everybody agrees, a terrible loss at Florida, now it's time for Utah to put their foot in the ground and go in a certain direction. They have got to win and win convincingly, in my opinion, over San Diego State, because you didn't fall as far as I think people thought you would fall. What are they, 14th at this point? I'm a little surprised that they didn't fall out of the top 15. I think that's a huge, huge win for Utah. And speaking of respect, I think that's a huge tip of the cap to Utah, Jake, because when you're 14th in the country and you're a 21-point home favorite,
Yeah.
Utah's favored by
Yeah.
21 points over San Diego State.
Yeah.
They got to come out and execute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the story of this season so far has been this Florida loss. I mean, like everyone is still talking about it, and I think it's really, it's obviously an unfortunate situation. I just think everyone agrees that you should have beat Florida, and the fact is that's behind you now, and now you have a job to do. And I know that this is very cliche, it's very coach talk, but I really do feel like Utah and that program and Kyle Whittingham and Cam Rising and everyone who's a part of that, your Devon Baileys of the world, you got to go out and do your damn job every week. You got to go out and execute. You talk about route running. Route running is paramount right now. Utah does not have that game-breaking wide receiver right now. I mean, as much as I love Dalton Kincaid and Brant Keithy, they're not enough just on their own to really make that difference and take you to that next level. And so to me, I think Utah really has to come up with a good game plan this week on how exactly they're going to get Vele more involved. How is it a thing where he's just got to run the route better? Is it a thing where a defensive scheme kind of held him down last week? Yep. That's what I'm really curious about. And I think that Utah, as you said, obviously needs to come out and win this game convincingly. But I think in the bigger picture, Utah understands that there's still expectations. Like, would anyone be surprised based on what you did last year if you got to a bowl game this year, like a significant Rose Bowl level bowl game this year? I don't think anyone would be surprised. But it just feels like when you lose that early and you're asking yourself to go undefeated for so long, that's a big ask.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting to see some of the comments. I agree with Isaac Aguiar, who says Utah needs W's. Yeah. You absolutely got to have W's. There's no doubt about that. And I will also say, you mentioned Devon Vele. I think he's a huge figure in this season. I mean, I think we're seeing what we thought we would get out of Keithy and Kincaid. I think they've absolutely lived up to the bill. I think Cam's lived up to the billing. The offensive line, I think, has been better. I mean, you really want to see good linebacker play this weekend. I really want to see Devon Vele have a 6-catch, 100-yard game.
Yes.
That'd be a huge breakout performance for him as we head for conference play. As we get closer and closer to October, the games are more and more meaningful, and you just don't have room for error anymore. And if you look at the momentum we talked about a few minutes ago with BYU, and you're beating South Florida, you're beating Baylor, you're going to Autzen, you have these big games, and now you've got Arkansas and Notre Dame coming up, and Utah is on the verge of losing that momentum. You lose this game to San Diego State, and it almost puts the brakes on your season.
Yeah.
And that's why I just think it's not an option. And when I look at what San Diego State is, they're never going to be an easy opponent. Mm-hmm. They're just not the way that San Diego State is built right now. And I think when you look at Utah, this is an experienced team with a lot of good leadership that now has to go out and execute. This is week 3. At this point, you should know who you are as an offense. You should be comfortable in your playbook. You should this is now repetition, muscle memory. You shouldn't have to be thinking through execution at this point now. And I think you're seeing that with BYU certainly, and I think you're going to see that with Utah this weekend. There is no reason to believe that Utah's going to come out. They need to cover that 21.
Yeah.
They need to come out and win convincingly, and I think they will do that. Because, again, I don't mean to be redundant. Momentum is king in this game.
Yeah.
We saw that with Utah last year. They made the switch at quarterback. Cam took over, and this team exploded forward. Mm-hmm. You've got to get that again because they're running the ball well. You need a wide receiver in that room to step up and take pride in the fact that he's the number 1 wide receiver. Devon Vele's got all the tools to do that. The kid can run. He clearly is a very good catcher of the football. Now he needs to display that, and he needs to display that. Do they cover the 21?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they come out and they have a great week, and I know that that's a lofty thing to expect or predict, but I really just wouldn't be surprised if Utah came out and flexed on San Diego State. I think Utah's got size. I think Utah, obviously, with Tavion Thomas, can run the football, and I'd like to see better execution in the run game against San Diego State. I think it was very lacking against Florida, and I think that Utah always seems to thrive when they're able to play ground and pound football, and I think that That's where it starts this week. So if you see Utah roll out and they've got that run game going early, that's a great sign. But yeah, I think they do cover it. I would love to see them drop, a 40 spot on San Diego State, but we'll see. I mean, obviously they're going to need to do that if they cover the number.
Yep. M. Morris says BYU always had a problem with depth. This year might be the deepest they've been. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, you look at the offensive line. I think you look at the wide receivers at BYU. You look at what you got from Chase last week. That's exactly what quality depth is about, because depth is not just having a bunch of dudes that can run track star numbers. If you don't have guys in the wide receiver room, especially look when you're playing in Oregon or you're playing at Baylor, it's not enough to have guys who are wide receivers. You need football players that are wide receivers who can come in when you have two of your best wide receivers out that can run a route and, frankly, make a catch on a dime piece from Jaron. And then if you look at Chase on that throwback, he makes a really good throwback. He puts Jaron in a position to win. To me, that's depth. It's not good enough to have guys who can just play football. Depth requires quality football players that are good. BYU has not always had that. And I think when you look at these recruiting wins, BYU now has that kind of depth. And in my opinion, that's why you're seeing all of this momentum that we've talked about so often that BYU has. And it's just carried over from last year. And now you have a team that is really reaping the benefits of some really difficult times.
Yes.
And I think when you look at the offensive line, you look at the wide receivers, I'm just so impressed that the fact that you didn't have Puka Nacua and you didn't have Gunnar Romney, that's every reason not to throw the football. It was humid and it was hot, and we're not supposed to sit around for what felt like 12 hours waiting to play football. Let's just pack it in and lose a game. Well, they didn't do that. Yeah. And I think that quality is why you're seeing BYU is winning games now. That's the difference. To me, that's the key for momentum. Speaking of that throwback play, time to talk to Harris LaChance, as we do every Wednesday. Now, Harris, I got to tell you that I saw you, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that you outran Jaron Hall to the end zone. Who's faster, you or Jaron Hall?
Definitely me. Definitely me.
The best part about that, and one of the things I want to ask you about is that a complete play? If you are not hitting somebody at the goal line, do you feel as good about that play, or was it a nice little capper that you had some contact there at the end of the play?
Yeah, you gotta go down and hit somebody for sure. So when especially when it's open like that, you gotta go find some work, man, somewhere.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that you found some work, if you will. How much did you guys work on that play? As we talk BYU football with Harris LaChance, presented by Papa Murphy's Pizza, how much did you guys work on that play?
We ran it a few times. When we called it, we were like, oh, yeah, okay, hopefully this works. Here we go. And then when they threw it back, it was wide open. We're like, oh shit, this is gonna work, dude. This is wide open. Let's roll. And so it was fun, man. It was awesome.
How many times in the O-line room have you guys watched that play? Because it was a procession down the right hash there. You guys were just running in mass. You look good. I got to tell you, man, for a big guy, it's like, you guys look good, man. You look like you were comfortable running down the field.
Well, you would too, Monty. If you saw that how open it was, you're like, all right, let's roll, man. It's exciting. No, dude, for real. We watched that play probably like once, and it was like, okay, good job, on to the next. Like, yeah, that's how it is. Like, all right.
Well, it's funny. Before you popped on, we were talking about depth, and we were talking about, obviously, with Puka Nacua being out and Gunnar Romney haven't seen the field yet. I mean, we're talking about a different, for me anyways, and I'm curious your thoughts. I feel like you guys not only have a bunch of guys that play football, but you have quality depth at skill positions, and perhaps we haven't always seen that at BYU. Can you guys feel that quality? Is there more confidence in everybody that's on that roster right now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think we have a lot more talented guys these days, and it's showing. And it really just, when you have a lot of talented guys in the same room, it just lifts each other up more and makes each other better. So I think that's a great add-on. I mean, we've always had talent, but you're right, though. We have a lot of talent nowadays. It's good.
Yeah, and I also think you guys have a lot of momentum right now. I don't know that there's a way to necessarily quantify what momentum is, but it feels like you guys are really, every week, there's big moments, there's big plays. Like I said, I know we talked about this last week, but it would have been easy for you guys to be like, yeah, we have a lightning delay. Maybe we're not going to play as hard, or we don't have our top 2 receivers. Maybe we're not going to be able to throw the ball. Like, it just seems like you guys have overcome that, and you just have this. It's never unstoppable, but you have a whole lot of momentum right now, it feels like, Harris.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just, like I said, man, just got to take it week by week and prepare the best you can. That was a crazy game last Saturday, and you have to just keep on keeping on, double overtime. That's tough, man, but you got to keep just grinding it and taking it, day by day, play by play. The momentum, yeah, it's great. But what are you going to do when you don't have that momentum too? You know what I mean? You got to just, whether high, whether low, you got to keep steady and keep going.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's talk about that Baylor game a little bit. And how tough was it? Because it looked like a physical football game. It looked like you guys are running your faces into each other. And I mean, that was a game where quite literally one snap of the football is going to determine who wins and who loses. How tough, how gritty, how physical was that game?
Oh, dude, it was awesome. It was just a complete all-out just football game, grinder, man, just a fight to the end. And that's what you want, man. Like, just those games, can't replace those for anything, man. Like, it was awesome. We're in the huddle, we're looking at each other, and we're just like, let's go, boys. Like, this is it right here. Like, this is what we train for all year. Like, let's go and just lay it all out on the line. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And they're in Baylor saying the same thing. Their defense saying the same thing. So, when you have competition like that, nothing better than that, man.
Do you guys talk a lot to, like, Baylor, BYU? Are you guys talking across the line? Are you guys, like, what is that relationship like on the field? Is there a lot of heat? Is there a lot of, like, what is that conversation like during a game?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it depends on, like, some of the teams we play talk a lot of crap. Others don't. It depends on how the game's going. This particular game, there's some trash talk going on. There's some just chilling. Like for example, I was talking to Siaki Ika, and he was like, and I noticed he's wearing the same cleats I was, but they're these Nike cleats that came out like a while ago, and they don't make them anymore. I talked to the Nike manufacturers, and they don't make them anymore. And I was like, so I have to find my cleats that I like on eBay sometimes, the Nike Zoom Code Elites. But he had them on; they were brand new, and I was like, wait a second, you guys have those? I was like, let's trade cleats after the game, bro. Like, I got to get a new pair of those. And so you have like little small talk like that. And that's one of my favorite things is like you're chilling and we're giving it our all, but at the same time we're bros too. I don't know. It's like this weird mutual respect when you're going against each other every play. You know what I mean?
Well, you're going to Oregon. Maybe you and Phil Knight can hang out and he can make you some cleats or something, man. I mean, he's got a little pull at Nike from what I understand.
Well, I told him, man. Yeah, I was like, you got to make those more. They're like, I don't know. Everybody likes them, so who knows?
Yeah, you're a Nike school. You would think that they would be able to hook that up. They make retros all the time now. Yeah. As we talk BYU football with Harris LaChance, brought to you by Papa Murphy's Pizza. And thanks to our good friends at Coug Connect, by the way, cougconnect.com, for hooking us up with Harris. By the way, there's a rap song from Coug Connect. Have you heard like the anthem, the Cody Epps anthem? Have you heard this thing?
I wouldn't call it an anthem, but yeah, it's an anthem. I guess it is.
Okay, wait. So can they? It's actually a good song. I actually enjoy it a little bit. But
Rock and Royal.
Yeah. How does that get received in the room? Like, how do you as a group like that song?
We played it. We had like big speakers in the locker room. We played it one time. It's funny. He's like, there's this part. He's like, shout out to the players, wives and babies. It's freaking funny. We're like, this is BYU, dude. Like, he's trying to rap, trying to sound cool. It's a good song. I don't know. It is what it is. It's funny. We laugh at it. It's kind of goofy, but
I love it. Absolutely love it. And that brings me to one of the questions I want to ask you about the Baylor game before we move on to Oregon. the hug on the sideline, the hug heard around the world. Really, if we're being honest, the hug that was in everybody's feels around the world, because you have a sobbing kicker who's missed these 2 field goals, and you've just won the game, and him and Jaron are in this death hug where Jake it feels like his soul is just coming out onto the shoulder of Jaron Hall. But what I think about that is, I always hear Kalani say, love, family, brothers, we support everybody, we stick together. And I know I'm not trying to be corny or whatever, but it just felt like that was the embodiment of what Kalani Sitake talks about. How did the team react to that moment?
Oh, absolutely. That's nothing new here, man. I love this culture here at this team, and it's a culture of love and learning. And when you make a mistake, you learn from it and you move on, but we all love each other. We lift each other up. You know what I mean? And you stay as positive as you can. Like I said before, even we talk about highs and lows in a game and in life. You want to constantly kind of be steady and be, if you're having, if you're going through some good times, don't forget the Lord, or don't forget, to do the basics. And if you're going through some hard times, same thing. And that's what that culture is here, man. He teaches us about life and how things can be hard, but we're going to make it through. We lift each other up. We support each other, and help each other. And honestly, that was like a perfect example of that in our culture. So
what was it like when Kalani brought Jake in front of the team? He talked about it in his press conference that he brought Jake up in front of the team to let him know that, hey, we all support him. Like, was there emotion in that? Was there celebration in that? Was it a quiet room? Like, what was that moment like?
Oh, yeah, just love. Just like, hey, man, I think we all were just kind of cheered a little bit. Just, helps that we won, but also that that we love him no matter what. You know what I mean? We're going to get it next time, and that's all you can do. So that's that.
Is there – it just felt like – I'll never forget the look on his face. Like, underneath his helmet, you have a kid that's dying inside because he missed these 2 kicks, right? Like, I'll never forget that emotion. How much passion is there? How much of that heart and soul that we always hear about in rap songs and in cliches, but it just seemed like that was really in that moment. Like, how much of that is real in a football game and in a football environment?
Oh, dude, 100%. It's all real. It's all emotion. Like I say, play after play. Like I always say, you're giving it your whole life. You've worked your whole life to be there in that play. You know what I mean? You put your whole life on the line, and you're giving it all you've got every single play. And that is the most highest emotion you can have. You know what I mean? That's why you got to stay steady. But it's true. It's like that hug, that thing. I mean, I feel like that's the whole world needs that, man. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. And it's like, whether hard times, whether good times, we're going to stick together. We're going to stick this through. And it is, man. It's even more than a game. You love it. It's love. It's love.
That's awesome. Talking to Harris LaChance, BYU football in Eugene this weekend, taking on Oregon. How tough? Do you know Watson Stadium? Have you been exposed to that? Like, how tough of a place to play is it?
Yeah, so I haven't played there before, but I heard it's going to be pretty wild. The fans are pretty wild there, so that should be really fun. I think it's going to be pretty fun, especially just going out there on the road and kind of getting a little taste of our own medicine lately from our crowd, but now they're going to be yelling over our offense and stuff, and so that should be fun. It's been raining here all week long, so yesterday we practiced in the rain. It's supposed to rain there, and so it's been pretty fun, man. I'm excited for this game.
Well, by the way, I noticed you're wearing a sweatshirt. I am so jealous. I am ready. We're like getting the red eye tonight. I am ready to be back in Utah where it's finally cooled off. But yeah. I'm a huge fan of sweatshirt weather. I got to tell you, seeing you in a sweatshirt actually like lifts my spirits today because I'm ready to come home and put on the sweatshirt, man.
Whatever, dude. You're chilling over there in Hawaii, bro. You got to be having so much fun. I'm surprised you're wearing a shirt right now, man.
Hey, man, I'm not complaining. I don't want to make all the wives and girlfriends jealous by going shirtless. It's just not something I feel appropriate to do. But I'm a huge sweatshirt guy. Like I am we went to the top of Haleakala, which is the volcano here on Maui. yesterday, and it was like 39 degrees. I had on the sweatshirt. I was cold. I haven't felt cold like that since last winter on a snowboard, man. And to see you in a sweatshirt is just amazing. By the way, what's the hat you're wearing? I see it's a baseball hat now that you turned it around.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big hat guy. So this is the Red Sox hat.
Oh, nice.
But it's got the 04 World Series patch on there. This is a UV series, the red UV. I don't know. They make all sorts of fitted hats these days, and they have all sorts of cool colorways, and I love it, man. You got to hit it on the drop, like some shoes.
See, now you're talking my language. Yeah. I'm a Jordan guy. Like I am a huge shoe collector. I'm a huge hat collector. The problem is I wear a size 8 hat. I have a massive cranium. Just hold this massive brain. So I wear a huge hat. And those are not readily available. My main question about that hat is what was the issue? Were they sold out of Cubs hats the day you bought that Red Sox hat by accident?
That's a good one. I get it. Let's go back to the fact that you're snowboarding. Can we bring back that? Yes, you're a big snowboarder, dude. You're just like hitting jumps and freaking pulling 360s or what?
Yeah, like triple Lindy's and stuff. Okay. No, I get less air than the width of a credit card, but I can blaze, dude. I mean, I can actually snowboard. I'm a pass holder at Vail. Like I am a Park City Mountain guy, and we actually go to Tahoe, Mammoth. We go out to Denver. Yeah, I'm a snowboarding dude, man. I love it.
Dude, love it. Lit. I would love to be a snowboarder. I'm like, when I get done with football, whenever, I'm like, I gotta lose some weight and get into some outdoor sports here.
It helps to lose weight. Trust me. It does. It makes a difference. All right. Before we cut you loose, I want to get to this Oregon thing too. When you look at Oregon and you look at the way you guys match up, I mean, obviously Oregon is going through a reshuffle right now. Brand new head coach. When you look at that team now, what have you guys seen on tape and in your preparation? What are you expecting from the Oregon Ducks this weekend?
I'm expecting they're going to give us everything they got. Much respect to this team. I mean, they have a lot of talented players and a lot of great players. So we're preparing for it, even more so than our last game. You know what I mean? We got a bigger target on our back, so everybody's going to give us the best shot they got, and so we got to be ready for it too. And I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a grinder again, so it should be fun.
Ranked 12th in the country, but a 4-point road dog at Oregon. I know you always tell me every week so far, well, we don't pay attention to that. I don't know what that means. You guys are 12th in the country, and you're a 4-point dog. Like, there's some respect that I think and I guess you have to earn it every week, and I totally understand that. But I would think that you guys like where you're at right now. Absolutely, you can get better. But what does it mean that Harris LaChance, you're on a BYU football team that's ranked 12th in the country, going to Oregon to play a massive game? What does that mean to you?
It means that it's pretty awesome, but it also means that it's only week 2, man. Or week 3 coming up here. So it's awesome, but I'm excited to see. I want to see, ranked number 1 or number 2 at the end of the season. So that's my goal. That's all of our goals. We're excited, but there's plenty of work to do. So that's what I would say.
Final question would be about the run game. Obviously, I think everybody's making a big deal about, Christopher Brooks, getting going or hasn't gotten going. I mean, I think we're making too much of that. I think the football community is making too much of that. There's a transition for him coming in from Cal, but are you, with Chris and specifically with the run game on the whole, are you guys happy with what you've been able to produce in that aspect of the offense?
I mean, I don't think we're happy with it. I think there's always much to improve on. I think that this past D-line was a really good D-line. So that was a good test for us. I think we're constantly working out the kinks here, adjusting some stuff and making right reads, getting more comfortable. And so I think that's where we're at there.
Well, I mean, as a 7th-year returning senior, Lopini Katoa, who feels like, I joke, but he feels like he's been here forever, and I know you guys have been on this club together for a long time, you've got to be really happy from him. I mean, he looks like he's playing great football. He's a big part of what you guys are doing offensively. I mean, that's a guy who has paid his dues, and now he's seen the fruits of his labor. I got to believe you're really happy for that guy.
Oh, dude, I love Penny. He deserves every single bit of it, man. He's a great runner, tough little guy, and will freaking be there whenever you need him. So he is awesome.
Well, enjoy the sweatshirt weather. Please stay healthy this weekend. It has been so fun to watch you inside at guard, and I wish you nothing but the best at Oregon, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Monty. Appreciate you, brother.
You bet. Appreciate you as well. That's Harris LaChance, guard for BYU. Really enjoying those conversations. I think it is so critical to hear Harris LaChance talk about the fact that this is more than just a cliche. And when you hear Harris saying, hey, it's all love, dude, like that Jake Oldroyd moment, I will never forget it. I wasn't even kidding. I will never forget the look on Jake's face. Not you, like Jake Oldroyd.
Right, yeah. The other Jake.
Yeah, they'd have cut your
Not
ass
to be
already.
confused, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the look on Jake Oldroyd's face as his soul was pouring into Jaron's shoulder, I will never forget that. That was something I will remember for a long time.
Yeah, and I think BYU fans will remember that for a long time, and I think that it's a defining moment of the season. And I think if you go and beat Oregon, it's just, you're starting to put together the puzzle pieces on the season. If you think about it, you have, the South Florida win with the Lightning and, the delays and everything that you dealt with. Then you have this double overtime, just insane game with the, Jake's soul leaving his body on Jaron's shoulder. Like, what does Oregon have in store for us? And that's why I say I would love nothing more than to see BYU go up to Eugene and control this game. Control it with the run game, control it with the defense, really possess the football for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it would be great to see just a clean-cut, thorough, frankly, ass-kicking of Oregon. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and I think that the point he made about the run game is it's in development, but it's always in development. I mean, you're opponent to opponent. I mean, you're looking at South Florida into Baylor is a completely different kind of game. That physicality is a completely different kind of game. I love the fact that he's talking to his opponent about his cleats. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love that kind of inside stuff. But I think when you're looking at the running game, I mean, it is opponent to opponent. I think Oregon is a team that you're going to be able to run on a little bit more than you will have had success against Baylor, for instance, because I think there's a little bit more, I don't know, there's a little less talent up front for Oregon than there is for Baylor. I think
they're
Baylor,
not as physical. Let's be honest about it. I mean,
I would
Baylor's
agree
a
with
big
that.
boy physical football team that you
Yeah.
have to go in and you got to push them around. And I think that's what, a lot of the, if you read the tea leaves nationally, that's what a lot of people paid attention to in that game was that BYU wasn't outmatched physically. BYU wasn't outmatched size-wise. BYU wasn't going to be bullied or pushed around. And I think, to me, when I look at BYU and specifically Harris and the offensive linemen, their ability to adapt to their opponent, I think it's huge. I mean, when you have guys who are as athletic as a Harris LaChance or anybody else you want to point to in that starting group, I think that gives you a lot of options. Whether you want to run, the option in the backfield, if you want to run the speed option, if you want to get out and get Harris LaChance out ahead of Jaron on some misdirection stuff, like there are a lot of options, and not every offensive line and not every offense has that luxury. So that's why I say this week against Oregon, I just want to see them road grade Oregon. I want to see you control that team, push them around, create holes for Brooks to run through, and let him get to the second level.
Football 50 and Harris LaChance, presented by Papa Murphy's Pizza. Check them out in their app. Make sure you download the app. It is, for us, it's the easiest way to order pizza. Order that amazing large.
The Monty special.
I'm telling you, if you're not a barbecue pizza guy, you don't need to get the chicken, but get the barbecue sauce. Get away from the traditional red sauce. Trust me when I say, if you'll get that barbecue sauce, the original crust, get the barbecue sauce, layer on the onions, layer on the green onion, layer on the mozzarella. I'm telling you, one of the best things you can do at Papa Murphy's is customize a whole pizza. It is so good, and it's so easy to do. The best part about Papa Murphy's Pizza is you order it in the app, and you can tell them what time you want to pick it up. Hey, I want to pick it up at 4 o'clock. The last pizza we had the night before we left, we ordered it at 10 a.m., told them, hey, we'll pick it up at 5 o'clock. You walk in the door at 5 o'clock. It is sitting there fresh and ready for you. It's sitting on a rack by the door. It's super easy. If you're like me, I'm an Apple Pay guy. So in the Papa Murphy's app, I just use the Apple Pay feature, pay it out pretty quick, walk in the door, it's ready to go, pop it on the smoker.
Bada boom, bada bing.
It is so much quicker than ordering delivery, and you know exactly what you're getting. And this is the thing I love about Papa Murphy's. They deliver the same quality product every time you order from them. There is no variance. I know what I'm getting. I know that the chocolate chip cookie dough that you take home, put it on the smoker with the pizza.
Yes.
Trust me, they're amazing. The s'mores that you also get. They also offer.
Come on, you casuals. S'mores.
S'mores.
It's s'mores.
Still one of the best arguments we've ever had on this show. S'mores or s'mores?
S'mores, bro.
They also offer you s'mores that you can take home and make for the kids. Like, it's just unbelievable. Papa Murphy's Pizza. Use the promo code Monty25, MONTY, Monty25 for 25% off your purchase of $25 or more. Probably the biggest story in the NFL is Jerry Jones says he's optimistic that Dak Prescott will have a quick return. So here's my question.
Jera. Come on.
Here's my question.
Right, yeah.
In Jera we trust.
Right.
Is never been uttered by any Cowboy fan ever.
I think that's HIPAA.
I think it is HIPAA. I don't know what the Cowboys are doing beyond, being rudderless. I maintain that if Dak Prescott's 100% healthy, they're still arguably not a playoff team.
Facts.
They are certainly not a Super Bowl contending team. How important, Jake, is Dak Prescott to the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you pay a guy on the level that you're paying Dak, obviously he's super important to what you're trying to do. And really, what's unfortunate is when a guy like Dak gets hurt and he has the kind of implications he has on your cap, that makes it really difficult to go out and do anything. And I think the frustrating part is that Jerry is this guy, and obviously I'm not, this isn't groundbreaking, but Jerry is a guy who isn't great at footballing. Like, I think it's not unfair or harsh to say that. Like, you had some success a decade ago or whatever, however long it's been, but your teams have never really, you've had some playoff teams, you've had some teams that have been good, but you've never really had that team where you're like, yes, this team can be, 10, 11, 12 win kind of team that's going to go out and dominate. They've always struggled to get out of that weak-ass division, and it's just incredible to me that they haven't had more success.
Listen, they're not the Chicago Bears. They didn't get the week one win like we did. The Myar and we're the Chicago flipping Bears, dude. That's who we are, we just win football games until this weekend when we lose. But that's not really the point, we beat the... Can I just feel good for 1 week that the Bears actually won a game? I just think I think the Dallas Cowboys are largely overrated. And I think it's one of those stories that it's the gift that just keeps on giving, such as Gisele Bündchen and being married to Gisele Bündchen.
Right.
Gisele Bündchen would like Tom Brady to be, quote, more present. So, those of us that are married and we dominate our households as the king of our castles.
Right.
I don't know anything about that, frankly. But the point is, that's not funny. Isn't this the politics? Isn't this the issues that we as families have to navigate? Because whether it's, hey, you golf too much or you work too much or whatever it is, this is that situation where you have a wife that is telling her husband, hey, man, I need you to be around more. Now, they're $1 billion couple, so it has nothing to do with him making money.
No.
But the point is, I think this is what normalizes Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. This is what makes Tom Brady the magnet personality that he is.
Yes.
And the superstar guy that he is, because he's just a regular dude who is struggling to navigate the waters of marriage because his wife would like him to be more present. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. Other than that, everything's fine, babe. Right? Like, this is so normal to me. It does humanize
Tom Brady. It does. It brings him back down from whatever pedestal he's on. And, just makes it very clear that he deals with some of the same challenges that other people deal with. And again, I think it's easier to relate to these guys when you have experience being in locker rooms or talking to these guys and understanding that they are human beings and they are people and they do have wives and kids and a life.
This is wives?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I think that Tom is a guy that I personally don't blame for pushing the envelope on this, man. Like how many guys are Tom Brady? Oh, that's right, exactly 0. So that's why I say he's at a place in his career where you're doing things that you're basically setting a high watermark. How many years can you play? What numbers can you set? And I think he understands that.
Talking Utah Jazz basketball in 2 minutes, but Football at 50 is presented by Papa Murphy's Pizza.
No one goes all in on made-from-scratch freshness like Papa Murphy's. We go all in on quality, all in on craft. And on the Triple Pep Pizza, we go all in on pepperoni. Because when you go all in, people notice. Go all in with a limited-time Triple Pep Pizza, topped with 3 types of pepperoni for just $11.99. Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Make sure you use promo code Monty25, M-O-N-T-Y, Monty25, when you order at Papa Murphy's for 25% off your order of $25 or more. The Monty Show presented by the Advocates, Utah Injury Attorneys. Make sure you find them online at utahadvocates.com. All right, it is just about 11 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone.
Are you ready to talk Jazz basketball?
Sure, it's 7 o'clock here in Maui. So why wouldn't we talk Utah Jazz? Just a couple of notes to remind you about before we get into the Jazz. Don't forget to join us this Saturday, already, this Saturday, when Oregon takes on BYU. We're all going to watch the game together at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. We'll be doing our Football Saturday show live at noon. From noon to 1, we'll be talking all things college football from Utah to BYU. We'll get you ready for the top 25 schedule. And, of course, we'll have all of the latest details on Puka Nacua and Gunnar Romney. Are they going to play? We'll get you ready to watch that game. BYU and Oregon, we'll watch it together. And then at halftime of that game, we are going to draw the winner's name to send 2 listeners to see BYU and Notre Dame go head-to-head in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium in the Shamrock Series. You get 2 tickets to the game, 2 nights at the Palms Casino Resort and Hotel, and a $250 gas card to get you there. Whew, it is going to be fun. It feels like forever that we've been talking about this. Well, it's here. We need you to show up Saturday. Let's eat some pizza. We're going to have a dozen large pizzas from Papa Murphy's that we're going to cook on smokers there.
Oh, my God, I'm ready.
And I am ready for that. We're going to have wings from Don's Meats. Don, a great local guy. Just search Don's Meats. He's on Redwood Road in West Jordan. Great local butcher. Has all the best cuts of meat, including wings. We're going to have wings. Jake demanded that I bring flats or he wouldn't show up. We know Jake's the star of the show.
That's right.
I got to have him there.
It's obviously called The Jake Show.
So I had to get flats, but trust me when I say we're going to have drums as well. It is going to be an amazing time at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. Make sure you check them out online at bbqpitstop.com for all of your barbecue and smoker needs. I mean, whether it is the actual physical unit, a big green egg, maybe it's a Yoder, a Traeger, which is what we have. All of the equipment, the rubs, the spices. Trust me, when you walk in the door at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh on Saturday, you're going to be wowed because there is going to be a lot to look at there, and it is going to be a great time. Whether it's inside, if it's raining, we're still doing the event. It is just going to be fun. Saturday. Yes. Be there at noon. By the way, if you have not entered the contest, it's going to be tough to do.
Lay down the law, baby.
We've told you this. You've procrastinated now.
Yes.
You've procrastinated now.
Yes.
But we will be there. It is going to be amazing. It is going to be amazing. From noon to 1, we will have an enter to win box on the table, and you will be able to enter the contest from noon to 1. That's your last opportunity to enter the contest. Can't delay it anymore because at halftime of the BYU-Oregon game on Saturday at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh, we're going to pick the winner. Yes. So it's going to be great. Greg Hawkins says he's going to be there. Gabe Ledley's coming in from Phoenix. He's going to be there. I am looking forward to seeing everybody at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh on Saturday at noon. All right, let's get a couple of comments in here because I know a lot of you have been commenting. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that. Brent Burnett says, yeah, Jazz soon. Yeah, how about the fact that the Jazz season go to training camp in 2 weeks? How crazy is that? Jazz are a dark horse this year. The whole team is unknown. I wouldn't call them a dark horse. I just would not. Isaac Aguiar says, great comeback by the Bears from a Niner fan. Yeah, Chicago Bears.
Chicago.
Dicka. Greg Hawkins says, I love how Monty talks trash about pepperoni pizza, then runs an ad for a triple pepperoni pizza. Listen,
next question.
Men don't eat pepperoni. Okay, we eat sausage and occasionally sausage. I'm just not a pepperoni guy.
Yeah, not a big pep guy myself, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Look, that doesn't mean that it's not great. I mean, my guy Caleb Harrison, that's all he eats is pepperoni pizza. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Brett Burnett says he just makes us hungry. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Vacation by these guys would be much needed. Truth. Rance says, like how the Jazz rebuild got Sexton better than Brunson and cheaper. I don't know if I would say that he's better than Brunson.
Yeah, I think that's a little lofty, if I'm being honest. I think Colin Sexton can be a nice player for sure. I'm not sure that he has Donovan Mitchell upside.
No.
But I think that he could be a nice player.
I would agree. As we talk Utah Jazz basketball on the Monty Show, let me just roll some of this out. Because Danny Ainge said something to Craig Bolerjack that I thought was very interesting about being mediocre.
The reality is we've had 16 years of, it's better than mediocrity for sure at times in the last 16 years, but at the same time it really hasn't been championship caliber basketball. And 16 years without getting past the second round of the playoffs, I think is not what any of us want. And so the change is just, okay, here we are with veteran team, had been all in on this veteran team. I think Dennis Lindsey has done a fantastic job in this organization, as did Quinn Snyder. And but I just think we're starting over.
Starting over. Mm-hmm. When you hear him say those two words, starting over, how does that impact you? As a Jazz fan, I've got to believe that's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's starting over. I actually disagree with those two words. I don't think you're starting over, and I don't think that it should be viewed as that. I think this is a continual push forward because, again, starting over to me, I just don't like the verbiage because, frankly, it's not like you had to, redraft your whole team or something. What you've done here is you've made a decision, and frankly, I think it was a hard decision, and they deserve credit for it, but I think it was the decision that was necessary. I think Danny said it perfectly there. Hey, you've had 16 years of basketball that was good enough to go to the playoffs, but not good enough to win a championship. We told you, a year ago, we've been saying it for a long time, that Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell team was not championship material, and we got a lot of hate for that, but it's funny now how it's coming back around, and I think that the Utah Jazz deserve credit for making a decision to get rid of those guys. At the same time, I don't think that the Utah Jazz have the luxury of being a 20-win team, and I don't think that by the deadline, the veterans are going to be here.
No, I would agree with that. And I think the other thing that Danny Ainge said, and this was in the press conference that they had where we got almost nothing, but this bite right here is critically important. Here's Danny Ainge talking about a group of players who didn't believe.
What I saw during the season was a group of players that really didn't believe in each other. Like the whole group, I think they liked each other even more than was reported. I think there was... but I'm not sure there was a belief that and so when we got to the playoffs, I thought, well, this is a team that's had some disappointing playoffs, and maybe they're just waiting for the playoffs. And so I gave them that benefit of the doubt. And, but it was clear the team, did not perform well in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, that is very clear. Very clear.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't perform well in the playoffs. But I wonder how much of that was a shot at Donovan Mitchell. And this is the problem, and this is kind of the conversation we continue to have about the Utah Jazz. Nobody asked that question. Nobody followed up on, hey, Donovan, like the comments about, moving on or starting over.
How does it reflect on Donovan Mitchell that you just said that the group of players didn't really believe that they could win a ball game together? That they didn't believe that they could really win a championship together. I mean, how does that? Was that why you traded Donovan Mitchell, or what was the actual reason for trading Donovan Mitchell? Because I think the Utah Jazz fan base deserves to have that question answered, because I got news for you. It's not good enough just to say, well, the Knicks came calling, or Cleveland came calling, or any random team came calling, so that's why we decided to go ahead and green light the Cavs trade. I think Utah Jazz fans deserve that answer. And frankly, and again, I'm not saying this from the perspective of, hey, we're better than anyone, or these guys suck, or I'm not trying to have that conversation. All I'm saying is I think it's an easy follow-up that should have been asked, which simply would have been, hey, what does it say about Donovan Mitchell that this team didn't believe it could win a championship together?
I think that's a big question, and I think it's one of those things that I don't know that we'll ever know, because I don't know that anybody will ask that. I mean, you traded a top-tier player in the NBA who was 25 years old,
yes,
and had 3 more years of club control. Something happened there.
Yes.
And nobody followed up on that. Nobody asked that question. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me is that the Jazz control the media in this town. And it's interesting. I have guys at the Jazz that I talk to on a pretty regular basis, and they agree. They control the media in this town.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is so often talked about is that the Jazz are not accountable to anyone. And they're not. And I think that that's part of the allure of owning this team for Ryan Smith is he can have a miss on a jersey rollout and nobody's going to say anything. They can make a transformative trade and nobody's going to ask why.
Multiple transformative trades.
I mean, the Rudy Gobert trade was as simple as dollars and cents. They had to move that contract.
You had a built-in reason, but I still think even in that presser, right, there still would have been opportunity to say, hey, so you moved on from Rudy Gobert, what's the direction of this team? Or there are still opportunities. I agree with you. There's built-in reason to trade him. Absolutely. That wasn't something controversial or even surprising, but it's still a foundational change to the organization. I mean, this is someone who was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. This is someone who the fans absolutely loved and adored, man. It's a big deal.
But I think when you do that with both of these guys, it's a major problem.
Yeah.
It is a major problem. And now the question is, how do you replace a guy like Donovan Mitchell? The answer is I don't know. But when you listen to this bite, and I would ask you, I'm just going to play this one more time. This 16 years of mediocrity. Listen to what he says here.
The reality is we've had 16 years of, it's better than mediocrity for sure at times in the last 16 years, but at the same time it really hasn't been championship caliber basketball. And 16 years without getting past the second round of the playoffs, I think is not what any of us want. And so the change is just, okay, here we are with veteran team, had been all in on this veteran team. I think Dennis Lindsey has done a fantastic job in this organization, as did Quinn Snyder. And but I just think we're starting over.
Yeah, and I think this whole concept around starting over is just, to me, I just don't agree with it. And so I think with the media, you have this situation where they won't ask the question. And I think that the Danny Ainge, and Ryan Smith, and frankly, the whole front office team understand that. They understand the concept of, hey, we're not going to get big-time backlash. We're not going to get questions about, hey, how are we operating, or what are we doing, or what choices are we making, or maybe, hey, are you going after VW in the draft now because you've torn it down? Are you doing certain things based on your behavior? And I think that it is frustrating, but at the same time, I also think that the Utah Jazz behavior is very predictable in some ways, where you have this whole concept of, hey, it's been about 2 weeks or whatever it's been since the Donovan Mitchell trade went down, and they're just now doing media availability.
See, Greg Hawkins makes a great point. It's, quote, it's better than mediocrity for sure at times. LOL, no, it's the definition of mediocrity. That's what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with the game plan here. I really don't. I need to know why you traded Donovan Mitchell. I need to know. I know what I've been told.
What's the thought process?
I know what I've been told. I know what we've been told. I know what sources are telling us. I want to hear Danny Ainge say it. I want to understand it, because when you're talking about chemistry issues in your locker room, that's a big freaking deal.
And I don't want the question to come from Craig Bolerjack, with all due respect.
No.
You know, I don't want the questions to come from him, because it's no secret. And again, we were talking about this on Twitter over the last couple of days about how it's softball and it's a very safe environment, and there's just no honesty in it. That's what I think people are upset about. There's no like real honest integrity in it. And I
totally
think
agree.
And as Jazz fans, I understand why you're frustrated. And everyone says to us, well, why don't you guys go? Why don't you guys ask the questions? Why don't you guys do that? Because we don't have time to be going to Jazz games constantly. We don't have that
well,
type
when you
of
get up at
opportunity.
4:30 in the morning, it makes that very difficult.
It makes it difficult.
And understandably, it's a whole different dynamic. Utah Jazz basketball talk on the Monty Show, presented by TryDayTrading.com, TryDayTrading.com/Monty. Hey, if you're trying to get out of your 9 to 5 and you are that person that's on the wheel, constantly searching for the side hustle, and I know you've tried Amazon FBA, you've tried garage sailing, you've tried, collectors, you've tried all this stuff to make money on the side. You're touring your car, you're doing all this stuff. Stop. Get off the wheel. Make real money. Get out of your 9 to 5 at TryDayTrading.com/Monty. If you have any interest in knowing, if you're somebody that's been passionate about the stock market like me, which is how I found TryDayTrading.com. I'm a big stock market guy. I have dabbled in day trading. I know I don't know what I'm doing. I am one of those guys who believe you got to know what you don't know, right? Well, I do, and that's why I trust the guys at TryDayTrading.com, and what they're going to do is they are going to allow you to trade their money, and if you make money with their money, you guys split the profit. If you don't, that's a loss for TryDay Trading. That's why I'm telling you, it is easy to go to TryDayTrading.com/Monty and register for their free webinar. It is a free, no cost, no obligation webinar that's going to tell you exactly how the program at TryDay Trading works. And the best part about the program at TryDay Trading is you get high-level coaching. It's not like, hey, we're going to, put you through our program and then we're never going to talk to you again. There's support all the way down the line. And as I mentioned before, you go through their program, you get this coaching, and then you trade their money. Your first trades are not with your own money. You're not risking your own wealth. You are trading TryDay Trading's money. And if you make money, you split the profit. It is as good as it gets. That's what side hustling should be about. Build generational wealth for your family. Do it at TryDayTrading.com/Monty. Register for the free webinar. Trust me when I say you will not regret it. TryDayTrading.com/Monty as we talk Utah Jazz basketball. There is a little significant breaking news, though, this morning. Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson is stepping down after nearly 25 years on the job at the Mountain West Conference. And I know that Craig has taken quite a beating. He's not a guy that is popular in Mountain West country. I mean, the lack of a quality TV network, the lack of really a quality TV deal, growing revenue. I mean, there's been a lot of complaints. But, Jake, I think one thing is for sure with Craig Thompson at the helm of the Mountain West, I mean, they certainly have grown a footprint in that conference. Yeah,
I mean, I think the Mountain West is obviously it's a fine conference. For me, like the Mountain West is it is what it is. Like the guy has been there a long time. Obviously, he hasn't executed as you were just saying. And I think the Mountain West in every football conference deserves better. I mean, frankly, how different is the Mountain West from the Pac when you really look at it? Obviously, the talent's better in the Pac. That's no secret. But I'm just talking about from a TV network, X's and O's, making money perspective. The Mountain West really just isn't that much different from what the Pac deals with. No TV, no great TV deal, or really what would be called a distribution deal. Overall, you're just not in a great place as a conference. So, yeah, while this is breaking news, I very much feel that this has been a long time coming, and we'll see who they bring on. I don't really think that, maybe I'm being naive, but I don't know that this affects college football expansion a ton. It just is what it is. I don't do you feel like this is some huge deal or some groundbreaking move?
Oh, I think it's history in the making. I think Craig Thompson is one of the longest serving commissioners in college football. I think for better or for worse, he has really shaped the past and really has shaped the direction of the Mountain West going forward. And I think it's one of those things where you will not fully understand his impact on this conference until a replacement is in place. And if this conference takes off, and I disagree, I think this is a huge moment in time for the Mountain West as far as expansion goes, because I think the Mountain West and its viability as a conference is at risk. Because when you look at the member institutions, teams like Utah State, teams, there's a lot of attractive brands in that conference that I don't think are just going to sit around and wait. I mean, the San Diego States of the world are in high demand. And I think when you look at what the Mountain West Conference is and what it's going to be, I think those are two very different things.
Yeah. There's a lot at play here. I don't know. Maybe I'm downplaying it. I mean, we need to see who replaces them. We need to see the impacts of that. We need to see how that all sort of plays out. But again, I don't think that your run-of-the-mill college football fan is going to sit here and be like, wow, he stepped down, like, holy cow, what's going on in college football? I think they know his name. They know he was a commissioner for a really long time. They know some of the brands in that conference. But I don't know, man. This, for some reason, to me, this just feels like it was a long time coming, and frankly, I hope it's good for the conference. I don't really know how it could be bad, to be honest with you. I think it's always good when you get a fresh voice in the room, without a doubt.
I think when you look at you look at just the Mountain Division, teams like Boise, Air Force, Utah State, Colorado State. You look at Nevada, Fresno State, San Diego State, UNLV. I mean, all of those teams have been mentioned in potential Big 12, Pac-12 conversations.
They definitely have brands, absolutely. I think that, yeah, sure, if a new commissioner comes in and paves the way for, the Mountain West to be dissolved, if you will, or like paves the way for these teams to be added into a bigger picture situation, that's great, but we have to see that play out. If you're, I mean, I have to think they have names, right? Obviously, they have people they're considering. So that's why I say, I think, yeah, while this is a big deal, there's a lot of talking points. It's still the Mountain West. Like, it's not like this is the SEC or something. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's two, they run parallel together. It is the Mountain West. It is a lower conference, but also Craig Thompson has been at the helm for God knows how long, before I was even probably born at this point.
But I mean, he's the only commissioner the conference has ever known. I mean, he's been in control of that conference since 99. I mean, this is a guy
99, dude. It's 2022.
I don't.
Who's more at fault for their current situation, Craig Thompson or the conference itself, and the people who decide when Craig Thompson needs to go ahead and move it on out?
Yeah, I listen. I don't disagree with you. I just think that this is a really critical moment in time for the Mountain. I think. And you look at how much impact the Mountain West has had on football in the state of Utah. I mean, this is not an insignificant situation.
For sure.
It really is not. And I don't know. My personal belief is that the Mountain goes away eventually. I just think you're going to lose too much. And I think that the Mountain has played a significant role in the history of college football. And I am not a Craig Thompson fan. He's a guy that doesn't like to answer questions. He's a guy that, again, believes in operating without accountability. I think he's done a horrendous job in TV rights and things like streaming and things like digital. I just don't think he's ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
He's 66 years old. I guess I wouldn't expect him to be. But my point is, he's a guy that's had a major hand in the transformation of football in this town. And I think now that he's leaving, I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it's something that,
I think for Utah, for the state of Utah, right? Like football in the state of Utah, it's obviously a big deal. I guess this kind of brings me back to this conversation we were having the other day about generations and how this sort of impacts, college football fans based on how long you've been a college football fan. I mean, if you've been following BYU and Utah and even Utah State, obviously, if you've been following any of those teams for any amount of time, then you're probably all over this story. I think for the younger generation, the generation that is, teenage years old right now, I don't know that this is a big story. And that's really fascinating to me when we talk about distribution deals and like how college football works. Because,
that's right.
Because I think now, to your point, like the conference could be dissolved. You could easily see a path to that. At the same time, I could easily see a selling point of, hey, new commissioner, distribution deal, not a lot has to change. We can start making more money now. So that's why I say this is right up that same path of the Pac-12 and Larry Scott getting moved out and George Koff coming in and, to me, fumbling the whole situation. So that's why I say the difference is that you're not a P5 conference, right? That's different. Like, you're in a situation where you're a little bit lower of a tier and you can't afford to make these same mistakes.
Yep, breaking news this morning right here on the show as Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson is stepping down after 24 years at the helm of the Mountain West Conference. There will be a new commissioner in place. It's going to be interesting to see where they go and who exactly takes that job. But without question, it is a transformative day in the history of college football.
Might this have been the most transformative year in college football? And when I say year, I mean calendar year. Like when you look at this time last year, where the game was at, and just all the stuff we've talked about.
Well, I mean, you have expansion of conferences, contraction of conferences.
Yes.
I don't think there's any doubt the expansion of the college football playoff is one of the biggest stories in the history of college football.
Yes.
I mean, it certainly could be one of, if not the most transformative year in the history of college football. I don't disagree with that. I mean, there's been a lot of history made, obviously.
Yeah.
From the BCS era to the playoff era. I mean, there's been a lot of changes with conference realignment and expansion and all that. But I don't know that we've seen this kind of groundbreaking change in college football for some time. All right, let's get back to the Utah Jazz. I know this is a crazy story, and we've had kind of an interesting period of time here, but the Jazz had this press conference this week and this Craig Bolerjack interview. I think one of the biggest stories is that there is no accountability for this organization. And, I mean, the vibes, and I'm told that they are still very much involved in trade talks with Bojan Bogdanovic, Jordan Clarkson, and Mike Conley, and I would not be surprised to see a deal happen. I know the Lakers very much want Bojan Bogdanovic, but they're not willing to give up 2 picks for Bojan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic. We'll see what happens, but the lack of accountability on the Utah Jazz, I think, is a problem because I think, and I don't know, let's get this going in the comments. I think we as observers of the Jazz and you as Jazz fans, we deserve an answer on what happened with Donovan Mitchell. And he's got his press conference with the Cavs today. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We deserve answers on why Donovan Mitchell was traded. Mm-hmm. And this thing about belief, and I understand that this thing about belief is a big deal, and whether they believed in themselves or not. But we're sitting here talking about a situation where you traded a 25-year-old NBA superstar who you had club control for years to come.
Yes.
And you have not been asked why you did that. And you have not been asked to specifically explain what it was. Because what this statement, and I'm going to play this bite again because I think it's important. What this statement right here does is go directly to the heart of the leadership of this team. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about a group of guys who didn't believe, is that the player's fault or is that the coach's fault? Is this why Quinn Snyder's not the head coach? Is this why Donovan Mitchell's not on the roster anymore? Was Donovan Mitchell part of the reason that you feel like this team didn't win a championship? That's a question that's got to be asked. Is Donovan Mitchell the reason that this team was a disappointment? That's a question that's got to be asked, because when you say something like this, there needs to be follow-up questions.
What I saw during the season was a group of players that really didn't believe in each other. Like the whole group, I think they liked each other even more than was reported. I think there was, but I'm not sure there was a belief that they, and so when we got to the playoffs, I thought, well, this is a team that's had some disappointing playoffs, and maybe they're just waiting for the playoffs. And so I gave them that benefit of the doubt, and but it was clear the team, did not perform well in the playoffs.
Right, and I don't disagree with that. I want to make sure. Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with what Danny said there. But you don't just trade a 25-year-old superstar.
Yeah, especially when you're in Utah, with all due respect. I mean, this is not the Lakers or the Knicks or the Celtics or a major market. And I know we have this discussion all the time, and I know, hey, if you want to feel and be a big market in Salt Lake, you got to start acting like it. But I don't feel like the Utah Jazz are ask questions that even enable them to act like it sometimes. I mean, it just, to me, like in the past, there have been times at press conferences where I felt like, hey, an elite reporter may ask that question. Someone who has zero fear or someone who just has the balls to ask the question. This was not that. This was an easy opportunity just to say, hey, so you just said that, the team disappointed and these guys didn't believe in each other. Work in a Donovan Mitchell question.
Yeah.
It's just that easy. And I feel like, Danny Ainge has been around the block. You're talking about a guy who came from Boston, So for him, this is a cakewalk. This is like just kind of, we're answering some questions. We know we're not going to get asked anything tough. And it just is that easy. And by the way, small detail, anyone notice that Justin Zanuck is wearing the new branding? That is low-key wearing the new hoodie with the new branding.
But much like Harris LaChance, he was wearing a sweatshirt, which I was jealous of. But he was wearing the new branding. Did anybody notice the New Jersey Nets uniform that came out that absolutely tramples the Jazz new uniform?
And it's Brooklyn, please.
Excuse me, Brooklyn Nets?
Thank you.
I'm so old. Anyway, the point is, I just think that this is a very critical moment in time, and it is shocking to me that there's not a follow-up question asked when you say that this team didn't believe in each other.
That's a strong thing to say, man.
And to not ask a follow-up question, to say that these guys liked each other more than was reported.
And to talk about that you came in and shared that thought with the current team that was here, the current, like Justin Zanuck and Ryan Smith, that you had shared that sentiment with them and that they agreed with you the first time you shared it, that's a strong thing to say. That says that everyone was in agreement that this team just didn't have the goods.
It's amazing to me that there was, Anyway, Ruff's official says North Dakota State, Montana State, Weber State are fun to watch if you're really a college football fan. Mm-hmm. Okay. Brett Burnett says offers are on the table and the Lakers going to deal and the Jazz will get their ask. We'll see. We will see. Ken Williams, good morning, Ken. Good to see you, man. Says Danny is smart, but no way I'm trading with the Lakers. I just don't think you can do that kind of business anymore.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, I'm not going to make the Lakers, quote unquote, better. Who cares if they get better? Your point is you can have Bojan Bogdanovic and Jordan Clarkson. Give me 2 first-round picks and some talent, and we have a deal.
Yeah.
Because that makes the Utah Jazz better. Does that mean the Lakers go and win a championship? It probably doesn't. Mm-hmm. But who cares? Because you're not winning a championship this year.
Yeah.
If this was in 2 years and you were making a deal like this, I would agree with you. You're not going to help a rival keep you from winning a championship. But the Jazz are not even in championship conversation at this point. You need as much draft capital because the other thing that Danny Ainge said is we're not building this team through the draft. I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
He is going to go out and make trades for talent.
Yes.
And that's why he's lined up draft picks. That's why everybody was like, oh, full tank, VW, here we go.
Not happening,
bro.
bro.
I mean, you can head to Southtown Volkswagen, but the Jazz are going to be on the trading block. They're going to be out. Yeah, they're going to be out making deals.
Yeah.
And they're not, in my opinion, and Justin Zanuck talks specifically about this as well, they're not necessarily going to draft with all those picks. My guess is they're not going to draft with most of those picks because they now have real leverage in trades for superstars.
Yes.
Much as, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell were traded. And this is what's so stunning about the Donovan Mitchell trade. He's 25 years old. So what are you going to have to go out and get now? Mm-hmm. You're going to have to go out and get somebody who's probably 25 years old and a superstar in this league. So are you telling me you didn't believe that Donovan Mitchell was a superstar?
Yes, I think that's what they're saying. But the problem is the question was never asked. And that's why I say when you come out, because again, the wording is very straightforward. When you come out and say that the team didn't believe in each other and that they were a disappointment in the postseason, that's an indictment on Donovan Mitchell on some level. That's an indictment on Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic. And so to me, I definitely want some clarity on that. Danny, do you mean to say that Donovan wasn't ready to carry this team or that whatever you want to ask, but I think it just has to be done, man. And it just is frustrating not to get those questions.
All right, let's run through some of your comments here. Appreciate everybody being here. Greg Hawkins says, Utah Jazz trades Donovan Rudy. Utah Jazz Media, quote, so what's your favorite ice cream? Exactly right. Isaac Aguiar says, I want answers.
Yeah.
Ruff's official says Don isn't a superstar. And that's debatable. I think if Donnie comes out and does what I think he's going to do, I think he's going to score 30 points a game. I do. I think there's just so much tape on him, and there's so much new tape on him where we're seeing moves that he did not employ over the last 2 years. he's going to have a monster
But
season.
I think that sentiment is well taken in terms of that press conference. I could. It's a totally appropriate question to ask Danny Ainge. Hey, did you believe, or do you currently believe, that Donovan Mitchell is a superstar in this league? Do you believe that he's a guy that can lead your team to the NBA Finals?
Apparently not.
Right? Put him in a position to answer the question.
Because when you ask him those questions and he says, yeah, he could have led us to a finals, well, then why did you trade him? What? No, I didn't think he could. Okay, well, what was it about him? Was it a leadership issue? What leadership qualities were missing? What skill qualities on the floor were missing that you felt like Donovan didn't have and needed?
And it doesn't need to be an attack. That's the thing. Like, I think
No.
I think what happens a lot here in Salt Lake and in the Salt Lake media is we talk about this, then it gets going on Twitter, and people misconstrue what we say. Like, people think that we're trying to say that you got to attack these guys.
No.
I'm not saying to attack these guys. What I'm saying is just ask the pertinent question, because I think it's 100% appropriate. You're not coming out of left field here.
But that's the issue.
Yeah.
People in this town think when you ask a direct question, hey, what was it about Donovan Mitchell that made it so you had to trade him? That's not an attacking question. That is a softball question in just about every other NBA market.
Why was 4 first-round picks the price? What went into that being the price?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I say I think there could have been a lot of clarity that came out of that presser for sure. But we just
Never got it. Brent Burnett says Spida and the Jazz mutually worked it out. The Jazz traded for a haul. Cavs a very nice place if I'm Spider. I don't disagree with that.
Don's got a big opportunity in front of him. There's no doubt.
Greg Hawkins, I don't anticipate that our team is going to win as many games as we'd won, Ainge admitted, but I believe it's going to be more entertaining and more exciting basketball. That's from KSL Sports. Yeah, could be. Absolutely could be. Brett Burnett says, love Spida too, but Spida and the Jazz privately and respectfully worked it out. Yeah, I don't know about that.
See, why, and I'm not trying to hate on that comment specifically, but I've heard this a lot over the last couple of weeks. Why are we assuming that they privately worked it out? Who the hell knows? What happens if in his media availability today, Donovan Mitchell comes out and says that he was unhappy for the last 2 years and it was a miserable time, or like he sends that type of message? He's probably not going to say it was a miserable time. But my point just is if he sends that message, I wasn't happy, it was not fun, we had major issues in that locker room.
Yeah.
What then is a Jazz? Are you then going to say that the Utah Jazz and Donovan worked it out? Because I don't think the way this was handled, they worked it out. That's not the message that I get out of the whole thing.
I think. Yeah, I just think Danny couldn't pass that deal up, and that's that. Yeah, I mean we've been over this ground before.
And that's
I
fine
just
if
think
he wants to say that. If he wants to say in a media availability, hey, it was simple as I couldn't pass up that deal. We as a team, as a front office team, as a talent evaluating team. That the reason it was 4 first-round picks is X, Y, and Z. We got our price and we pulled the trigger. I can respect that answer.
And I think a lot of this is that you have a draft coming up in 2023 that is arguably the deepest draft in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're going to draft players in that draft. What it means is other teams will be more hungry, will have a larger appetite to get into the draft, and they will be more willing to let their players go.
Totally.
So, I mean, there is a lot of relationships the Jazz have built through these trade conversations over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And those, you're going to see fruits of that labor. I mean, this is not an organization that's historically made deals with the Lakers, that have made deals with the Nets, that have made deals with the Cavs. Mm-hmm. Like you're seeing the Jazz are out in the marketplace making significant transformative deals, and they're not done doing that.
Yeah, and historically they haven't controlled the trade market, which they've absolutely done this year.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. Mark Rasmussen, good morning, says, very ashamed that they traded Mitchell. Shame on you, Ainge. I don't know. I think they got a haul in return. Rance, good morning to you. They were becoming the Blazers one-man show, and it wasn't going to work. I don't disagree with that.
But what I want is I want Danny Ainge to say that. I want Danny to come out and say, hey, this is the reason we felt compelled to do the deal. Because Rudy, like you said earlier, Rudy had a built-in reason. It was cap space, money, business. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no doubt.
We get it. Donovan is a whole different beast. Donovan is like, hey, this is a franchise-level player. He's 25, club control, no real reason to trade him other than, hey, we want to go a different direction or whatever reason you want to say. And that, to me, I hope that someone from the Cleveland media, which I have high hopes for, Cleveland's media is pretty good. I hope that someone asks Donovan Mitchell, hey, were you unhappy there? Or what was the feel there? Or
did you demand a trade?
Out? Did you demand a trade? Excellent question. Like anything like that. I hope we get that level of clarity today.
Yeah, I think we need that level of clarity today. Mark Rasmussen says they're going to suck maybe forever.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Come on now. Hullabilly, good morning, says the Rockets throwback jersey this year are gorgeous. Yes, they are. Ken Williams says he traded him because he got a great deal and helped the future of this time and got Sexton in the deal. I love the moves. I don't think anybody's ever going to argue with the equity that you got in return for Gobert and Don.
No.
Nobody's ever going to argue with that. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unthinkable what Danny Ainge has done here. The why is still important, in my opinion. It
matters.
It makes very little sense that you traded a 25-year-old. The only answer could be you don't value him as a superstar. There's something that you know about him. Interesting. Boy, there's a lot of college football news today, folks. Pete Thamel, ESPN College Football Insider. The SEC has directed Georgia and Tennessee to not play their home-at-home non-conference series against Oklahoma. The Bulldogs had OU scheduled in 23 and 31. The Vols 2020 game in Norman was canceled amid COVID and was expected to be made up down the line. The return games in each of the series to take place after OU and Texas are scheduled to join the league. So we're already seeing that that this SEC Big Ten thing is a problem. I'm telling you, we have not seen the repercussions of that. Sorry to be a squirrel chasing a nut.
Yeah,
I don't mean to go, but that's a really compelling problem. Is that schedule?
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I think the why you traded Donovan is really important. Let's see. Brent Burnett says Jazz players did like each other. Still hard to deal with losing. Just no time for losers. I disagree with Danny on that. I was told repeatedly that Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell had no relationship. Did not speak, were not friendly, did not hang out with each other away from the game. Very clearly, I don't think there is any doubt in anybody's mind that Donovan Mitchell and Royce O'Neal were best friends. There is no question about that. But I'm also told that trade had no impact on Donovan Mitchell being traded. That Royce O'Neal just was not going to fit into what they wanted to do, and that Will Hardy has a different, plan and style that he wants to play.
Well, and that much was made very clear by Danny multiple times about how this is going to be more exciting basketball, and Jazz fans
want to play up tempo.
Yeah,
they want to play up tempo
clearly, and I think that. Look, I get it, man. The goal here is to suck, but do it in an entertaining fashion. That's the goal here. And to buy yourself some time to go out and make more deals and turn the ROI into actual players on the floor winning you ball games and winning championships. I get that that's the process, but again, I just have this issue with this idea that there was that you weren't. I guess the best way to say is Danny wasn't given the opportunity directly to say why they traded Donovan Mitchell.
Yes,
and I think
that's right.
Donovan, I have, I would say, an 85 to 90% confidence level that the Cleveland media is going to ask Donovan Mitchell about, did you guys work it out? Are you happy you were traded? They're going to get into that stuff with him, and I'll be curious to see what he has to say, because I guarantee you he's prepared for that.
Yep. Zayman says, what is your Jazz source saying on trading Don, and do you trust the answer they're giving? Well, I mean, they've been very straightforward and consistent from the beginning. Danny Ainge would be derelict in his duty. He'd be irresponsible if he didn't make that trade.
Yeah.
And I think that's been their stance from the beginning. Because, I mean, I think our track record kind of speaks for itself. I mean, our sourcing's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think we've hit on 5-6 straight NBA stories, and I get it. I know why they traded Rudy Gobert. I understand. Rudy is not the easiest teammate in the world. I don't think anybody disagrees with that or argues that. He was not popular in his locker room. He did not take accountability. Well, you get all that. We had never heard any of that about Donovan. The biggest complaint about Donovan is that he was very quiet. Donovan is not an outward vocal leader. And I think one of the biggest questions that I'd like to know about Donovan Mitchell is, what is his leadership capability? Is he able to take a room of guys and bring them together? Is he able to be that true superstar on the floor and off the floor? Because if he's not, that's a great reason to trade him. Because Don doesn't have the on-court personality to be a number 2. He's an alpha male. There's no doubt about that. And I think Don's very well aware of who he is and what he is. And I think he knows he doesn't have any desire to be a vocal leader off the floor. And I think a lot of franchises need a guy that'll be a vocal leader off the floor. And I think Cleveland or New York New York's got a guy like Jalen Brunson, who is a very good leader, who is a guy that's a unifier. I just don't know that the Jazz believed in Donovan Mitchell to that level. I think there were always the questions I've always heard about Donovan Mitchell are always leadership. He's never been a headache in the locker room. He's not a guy that tweets about other players like Rudy did. He's not a guy that's calling other players out and then refusing to take discipline like Rudy did. Like it was just, he didn't say much at all. And I think that was a problem for the Jazz. And I think, frankly, Zayman, thank you for the $5 tip, by the way. I think that's why they traded him. Honestly. Ken Williams says they still win 35 to 40 games. Maybe. We'll see what they do at the trade deadline, by the way. Brett Burnett says, I have a source on the Don trade. It's me and Spida was happy to go to the Cavs. I'm sure he was. Would he tell you if he was unhappy to go to the Cavs? Probably not. I don't know. Brett Burnett says, you can use me as your source anytime. Thank you. I appreciate that.
For real.
Isaac Aguiar says, do you think they can make the playoffs next season? Ask me after the trade deadline, because I don't think they're close. I don't think they bring this roster back to camp. I don't. I mean, it makes very little sense to trade Donovan and Rudy and bring in all this talent and keep Bojan Bogdanovic on the roster. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, especially knowing he's in demand. Yeah. And he's a guy who's had major injury issues the last couple of years.
Yeah, you need to trade him now, because if you don't, you're going to get behind that value curve, and you're not going to be in a good spot trying to trade him next year.
I mean, I can see them bringing Jordan Clarkson back because, he's a very popular player.
And his style fits into what they're
stylistically,
trying to do.
he fits right into what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I could see them bringing him back. It just doesn't make sense to have Bogey and Conley on the roster. That makes no sense to me. And by the way, what are you doing with Rudy Gay, who was a real problem in the locker room, who complained about playing time and minutes? What are you doing with Rudy Gay? And what sense does it make to have him on the roster?
It doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense at all. So there's just all these questions.
They have 17 guaranteed contracts right now. They have to make moves.
What sense does it make to have Malik Beasley on this roster if the Lakers are interested? That's a guy who's a very good three-point shooter. What sense does it make to have him here? There's a lot of odd fits.
Yeah.
Are you going to trade these guys at the deadline? I would tell you Bogdanovic and Conley are very risky to do that with. You can hang on to Beasley and trade him at the deadline. I could see them doing that. But I just don't see a lot of value in there was a lot of people saying that they were going to trade Jared Vanderbilt. I have not heard that. I have not heard that one time. He was a guy that they were very happy to get in the Minnesota deal. That's another deal where if you're trading Bogey, Conley, and Vanderbilt, that's 3 unprotected first-round picks.
Yeah.
I can't see them doing that for 2 with the Lakers. That doesn't make sense. And this is why I said last week a deal was not close. There were other people reporting that a deal was close. A deal with the Lakers has never been close.
Yeah.
Not in this incarnation. I think the Lakers have been trying to be a third team with the Lakers and the Knicks for as long as that deal had been being put together. Because the Lakers would like to move Russell Westbrook. The Jazz, I don't think, would mind having that cap space. So, I can see where that would work. But there's not been as far as I understand, there hasn't been a deal that's been close.
Yeah.
With the Lakers in this Bojan, Conley, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's never been in that deal. It just is not something that I'm not going to say it's not something the Jazz would do. The Jazz know that Vanderbilt has tremendous upside.
Yeah, and again, he fits into what they're trying to do, which is play up-tempo, up and down basketball. And I think that to me was made very clear yesterday, if I'm being honest. It was made very clear yesterday that, yeah, we're not going to win as many games, but it's going to be entertaining basketball. So we're not going to be painful. We're not going to be terrible. But what that has written all over it is Houston Rockets. That's what it has written all over it. The problem is you don't have a bunch of guys who are 6'10", and physically gifted scorers. So when we talk about enjoyable or not, when you're down 20 headed into the fourth, that's probably not going to be real enjoyable to your fan base. And by the way, you still don't have a distribution deal to at least show the games. So that's why I say the Jazz are very in tune with where they are and how their fans are going to experience this product this year. So I don't know, man. I don't think they're done yet. I can't see keeping these veterans.
Yeah, football at 50 in 2 minutes right here on the Monty Show. But wrapping up Jazz talk, in 10 minutes, I do want to get to this Robert Sarver situation because I don't know how many people. I don't know. Is this a story of consequence? I think this is a huge story of consequence. This situation with Robert Sarver, the owner of the Suns, being suspended a year and fined $10 million. I think that's a big deal. That is a big, big deal in NBA circles because I think it sends a message and a clear precedent for what you're allowed to do and what the punishment will be.
Totally.
So was this enough? Was this handled well? I actually think that it was not enough, and I don't think it was handled well. I really don't. It's really disappointing to me.
Yeah, and when we talk about it here in a couple minutes, I think we need to talk about the message it sends to NBA fans. And how, in the way you handle things and the message it sends. I mean, we talk about this all the time with the NFL, and this, to me, is the first time in NBA land where I can say, yeah, this is not a great look.
No, it's not. Football at 50, 10 to the hour, every hour on the Monty Show. We bring you the biggest stories in college and pro football, presented by Papa Murphy's Pizza. Make sure you download the Papa Murphy's app because, frankly speaking, it's the easiest way to order Papa Murphy's Pizza. Now, if you show up at the Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh this Saturday from noon to 1, we'll be doing our Football Saturday show. And then from 1 to halftime, we're going to be watching the BYU game, which kicks off at 12:30. The only way, if you have not entered...
Is it 1:30? I think it's
1:30 kickoff.
1:30
yes, on
kickoff.
Fox.
Yeah.
A primetime game for BYU and Oregon. But the only way to enter this BYU Notre Dame drive away to Las Vegas is at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh, Saturday from noon to 1. Because once the Football Saturday show ends, it's over. You can no longer enter. We'll have an enter to win box on the table, but that's going to be it. We have had so many people enter this thing. Mm-hmm. Show up at the Barbecue Pit Stop this Saturday at noon. We'll do the Football Saturday show. We'd love to have some of our listeners on the show. I think that would be spectacular. You guys support this show so well. Come on out. Have a seat for 5 minutes. Give us your game predictions. Let's talk football with you guys right here on the Monty Show. That's this Saturday at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. We are going to have a dozen Papa Murphy's pizzas on hand that we're going to smoke from like 1 to really halftime. All through the game, we're going to smoke those pizzas. They're going to be spectacular. Papa Murphy's has really stepped up to support the event with our friends at Barbecue Pit Stop. They're giving us a dozen large pizzas. It's going to be off the chain. We'll have that for you. Don's Meats is giving us some wings, but Papa Murphy's is where it's at. Use promo code Monty25. Monty, Monty25 at Papa Murphy's Pizza will get you 25% off your order of $25 or more. They bring you football at 50, 10 to the hour, every hour. The biggest story this morning, I think, in football is Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson is stepping down effective December 31st. He will no longer be the commissioner of the Mountain West. What is your initial reaction to this?
Yeah, part of me says that, hey, it's still the Mountain West. Hey, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not a big deal because it does matter. It is a big deal. Craig Thompson has been the commissioner since '99. Like, this is a big deal. There's no doubt. But I can't get away from this concept that it is still the Mountain West. And I think that the problem is that you're...
Why you disrespecting, man?
Yeah, I'm not trying to hate, but this is a different conversation than the PAC or the ACC or SEC or any of the, the Power 5 conferences. And I think that The Mountain West, the only reason that this really has major implications is obviously with San Diego State and these different entities that are attached to college football expansion. So it'll be really interesting to see who they bring in and what the game plan is, because I think depending on how you handle that, that's truly going to decide if the conference is allowed to continue. And when I say allowed to continue, I mean it remains viable. It remains an option to survive, because again, and this is kind of what you said earlier, like these teams, that you have multiple teams in your conference, most notably San Diego State, but there are many others that are attached to going to the Pac or going to the Big 12 or whatever the situation may be. So again, depending on the commissioner you bring in, that very well could decide if the Mountain West even exists anymore.
Well, and I think this is Craig Thompson going out on top. I mean, he was part of the college football playoff subcommittee that expanded the playoff to 12 teams. I mean, this is clearly a victory parade for him. He's going out as a clear winner. I mean, that expansion to 12 certainly gives the G5 teams a much better shot to make the college football playoff. I think that's a huge win for Craig Thompson.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any doubt that his legacy and his resume are full of stains. I mean, the lack of TV wins and the lack of TV money in the Mountain has really crippled the development of that conference.
Facts.
I think it made it possible for teams like BYU and Utah to escape that conference. And I think it has really damaged the long-term viability of the Mountain West as a conference on the whole. And I think it's nice that Craig, he's been the commissioner of the the Mountain West since 1999, the only commissioner the conference has ever known. That's huge for Craig Thompson. He has had a career. I would not call it a distinguished career. I don't believe that he's had overwhelming success, as some people this morning are trying to paint that to be. And here on the Monty Show, we call ourselves the Truth in Sports Talk here in Utah. The truth is the Mountain West has sputtered largely under the leadership of Craig Thompson.
Yeah.
And it's because they have not had a good TV deal. The Mountain was a huge failure as a TV network. They never went third tier right. They never got streaming. They never got digital. They just never got out of the starting blocks when it came to TV money. And, really, I think a lot of their member institutions are no longer going to be in this conference when we're at the end of the road on Pac-12, Big 12 expansion.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of those brands are going to wind up in either the Big 12 or the Pac-12 or whatever that grouping of schools ends up being. Who knows? Again, I firmly believe that ESPN would like to see a merger of the Big 12 and the Pac-12, and they'd like to have the TV rights, the first-tier TV rights to those games. So we'll see. I think teams like San Diego State, Boise certainly have value.
Yes.
But it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens to the Mountain now that Craig Thompson, the commissioner of the Mountain West, is stepping aside. I think this is a big moment in time. If you are a Mountain West fan, if you're a Utah State fan, I'm curious how you feel about this, because those Aggie tears are real.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens to Utah State. This has not been a stellar start to this season.
No.
To say the very least. I mean, you are in a position where, on the regular, Utah State has to fight for time in this state.
Mm-hmm.
You are irrelevant right now.
Yeah.
You are an afterthought. You are not somebody that people are talking about. Utah losing to Florida was a far bigger story than anything that Utah State's doing. Like Utah and BYU is clearly dominating football in this state right now.
Mm-hmm.
But Utah State's not even on the radar. I mean, their struggles are not even a story. So it's going to see exactly what it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens to this conference. But Craig Thompson stepping down after 24 years at the helm of the Mountain West. Couple other stories I want to get to. I think this Gisele Bündchen, Tom Brady story is fascinating. You're Tom Brady. You're the best quarterback. You're arguably the best football player who's ever played in the NFL.
Yeah.
You are certainly the best quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife is telling you that she needs you to be, quote, more present, which I believe, and I could be wrong, if you speak Farsi, you could help me. I believe in Latin, more present means it's time for you to retire. I believe that's the translation of that.
Yeah.
I don't know how this ever turns into a win, other than the fact she's incredibly supportive of Tom Brady. I mean, all kidding aside, Gisele Bündchen, by all accounts, is a phenomenal partner. She supports him. She helps him physically. She raises their kids during the season. Like, she allows Tom Brady to be Mr. Football. But this got ugly when he took a leave from Tampa. Mm-hmm. So how difficult do you think it is to be Tom Brady's wife right now?
Oh, I think it's difficult. I think it's been
No,
difficult.
it's not. I think it's incredibly easy.
No, I think that we undervalue, the work it is to be a mom and the work it is to have your guy gone for, months at a time regularly. And I think
but see, this is where you and I disagree. He's not gone for months at a time.
Well,
he is a football player for months at a time. He has to work for months at a time. But his job on the 9 to 5 on the regular is no different than an accountant, a lawyer, a ditch digger. He goes to work and then he comes back home. And he brings a paycheck that's tens of millions of dollars on top of her at tens of millions of dollars. So me and Mrs. Monty joke all the time about how we're going to have the staff do the laundry today.
Right.
They quite literally have staff who does the laundry today.
Right.
I'm not going to – this is the thing. I'm not going to sit here and cry foul for Gisele Bündchen. Oh, that poor supermodel who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. What a bummer that her husband has to go to work every day. Well, let the staff soothe your pain. Like, I just don't buy this from Gisele. You have a very comfortable lifestyle. This is Prince Charles, who when he travels and sleeps somewhere else, it came out today through the rags in the UK, the newspapers. He demands that his furniture travels with him, so that when he goes to a hotel to sleep, they move his bedroom set to that hotel a day ahead of time.
We're on to Cincinnati,
so that he's as comfortable as possible. They move his bedroom set.
Bro.
Like, are you serious? I can't even get a comfortable hotel pillow. And they move his entire bedroom set. I don't feel
the best there is.
I don't feel sorry for Gisele Bündchen.
Yeah. I think it's you're not wrong. I mean, they obviously are gazillionaires. Obviously life is good, but she wants more time with Tom. I get it, man. I understand. But at the same time, like I do respect the fact and that Tom Brady is a competitor, and I love the fact that Tom wants to set bars that are going to be incredibly difficult to get to.
He's an all-timer.
Yeah.
Yes, his football 50.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. My bad. Okay.
Presented by Papa Murphy's. Thank you.
Hey, guys.
No one goes all in on made-from-scratch freshness like Papa Murphy's. Because when you go all in, people notice. Go all in with the Triple Pep Pizza for just $11.99. Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
There you go. Greg Hawkins' favorite pizza, the Triple Pep at Papa Murphy's
I love
Pizza.
the lingo. Triple Pep.
Triple Pep, baby. Triple Pep. The Monty Show is presented by the Advocates, Utah Injury Attorneys, UtahAdvocates.com. If you've been in an accident, if you need help, and here's what I always tell people. If you're wondering to yourself, should I sue? You should go to UtahAdvocates.com. If you're thinking about it, if you're wondering about it, stop wondering. Stop thinking. Take action. Don't go into your pocket to pay somebody up front. You don't need to pay retainers. You don't need to pay for consultations when you go to UtahAdvocates.com. The advocates are going to fight for you. That's why they're called the Advocates, because they're your advocate. You deserve that. When you've been wronged and you've been in a car accident and you're injured and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to pay my medical bills? Guess what? They're going to get your medical bills deferred. They're going to give you a free consultation, and you do not pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. They're going to fight for you so you can get back to the best version of yourself. Call the Advocates today, or simply find them online at UtahAdvocates.com. The biggest stories in sports this morning, certainly this Craig Thompson story. If you're just tuning into the show today, Craig Thompson, the commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, is stepping down effective December 31st. He will no longer be the commissioner of the Mountain West. This is a changing of the guard in college football. Craig Thompson has his hands all over the college football playoff expansion. He was on that subcommittee that expanded it to 12. So Craig Thompson certainly now pulling the golden parachute, going out on top. Craig Thompson out as commissioner. of the Mountain West Conference effective December 31st. I think there is no doubt that BYU and Oregon is one of the biggest stories in sports. BYU now all the way down to a 4-point dog on the road in Eugene, in Oregon. We had Harris LaChance on the show earlier. He makes his weekly appearance thanks to our friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza. Harris LaChance said they are laser focused. What happened with Baylor, that was last week. This is this week. They expect a physical, highly contested football game against Oregon.
Y'all feel me?
1:30 on Saturday afternoon on Fox. We're going to watch it all together with you at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh starting at noon on Saturday with Football Saturday right here on the Monty Show. Jake and I will be doing the show live. Mrs. Monty will be there. It's going to be a blast at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh this Saturday at noon. Be there or
Be square.
be square.
Yeah.
Are we going to square cut the Papa Murphy's Pizza?
Yeah, obviously.
Avi! Yeah, Mrs. Monty will be there dishing. We'll have her cut the pizza. How about that? Mrs. Monty's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian too.
Donnie, please.
But we'll have Papa Murphy's Pizza for you. We'll have wings, including flats.
Obviously. Harris straight up said flats were better, so I don't know why you keep talking down about
Harris, Schmaris, drums for everybody. But yeah, BYU and Oregon this weekend. I think a massive game up on the hill on Saturday night. Utah and San Diego State in a must-win for Utah, who is a 21-point home favorite over the mighty Aztecs of San Diego State.
Who are without a commissioner now.
Whale's vagina. Coming
Wow.
Coming to Salt Lake City Saturday night. Utah is a 21-point favorite, and you think they cover that number?
Yes, I think they cover that number. I think what you're going to see is stout defensive play out of Utah, and I think that they're going to run the football a lot more, and I think that they're going to get back to what their pillars are, which is running the football, playing defense, and executing on special teams. Because how many times last year did we get the great punt to pin a team deep? How many times did we get turnovers in the special teams department? That is one thing that has been a little lacking that I think is warming up, and that's why I say I do think that it's 21 points. I think that's lofty, but I do think they're capable of covering that number.
Well, let's hope the Utes are not punting a whole lot, and let's hope they do control the field, because that's what the Utes need to get back to. Devon Vele needs to have a big week. They need a wide receiver to step up and emerge as their go-to deep threat, and he certainly can be that guy, because the minute that Devon Vele starts catching 5 to 6 balls a game, that makes Brant Keithy and Dalton Kincaid far more dangerous weapons down the middle of the field.
Yes.
That's what's going to open up the run game for Tavion Thomas. It's the one ingredient missing on this offense to take the top off the defense, wide receiver. Will Devon Vele be that? We'll find out Saturday night up on the hill against San Diego State when the Utes are a 21-point favorite. That's a huge number.
Yes.
Maybe I overvalue San Diego State. I don't know. It's going to be.
What a loser.
It's going to be interesting. The weather is changing. The air is getting a little crisper. We're in the 40s and 50s at night these days on the Wasatch Front.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be interesting. I think one of the other big stories in sports is this situation with Bobby Sarver in Phoenix.
Hey, good old Bobby.
The NBA has suspended Robert Sarver 1 year and fined him $10 million. And I just think this is a joke. I think this is an absolute travesty. This suspension says to me that they do not take racism and sexism and workplace animosity, workplace hostility, workplace abuse seriously in the NBA. Based on what we've seen in recent times, and everybody keeps bringing up Donald Sterling, the former racist owner, now departed of the LA Clippers. Okay, well, that's all well and good. But that's how many years ago? What's going on with Mark Cuban's situation in Dallas? What's going on with Bobby Sarver in Phoenix? A 1 year suspension and $10 million? Honest to goodness, when you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars like Bob Sarver is, I mean, you find him a roll of nickels.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
Well, and the problem is it wasn't by choice. I mean, that's the maximum they can fine him based on the CBA, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that that's the problem. The agreement you have in place is garbage. I mean, to be
yes,
for
it is.
for the max to be $10 million to me is just absolutely incredible. And I think that when we look at how to handle these situations, the dollar amount to me has always been more important than how long somebody's gone, because Sarver's not going to struggle. Sarver's not going to, he's not a player. He's an owner. So him having to sit up in whatever penthouse or whatever boat that he's got and watch the Suns play he doesn't care about that.
But the thing I don't understand is, in some of these allegations, commenting on women's physical appearance.
Yes.
Commenting sexually on a woman's appearance. Using the N-word repeatedly, even after he was asked to stop doing it.
Yes.
By players, personnel, and staff. He was asked to stop doing that. He continued. Putting goats in his general manager's office who ate the furniture and crapped everywhere because he wanted a goat-type player wearing a Suns uniform.
It's not the best situation, and we all know that.
Just all of these accusations of sexually explicit comments to women. I don't know how it gets worse than this. And my question is, how was Robert Sarver not forced to sell this team?
Yeah.
How was he allowed to keep ownership of this team? And what this says is you don't value the protection of women in the NBA workplace. Mm-hmm. What this says is you're okay with an owner using the N-word. What it says is that rich white guys can do whatever they want as long as they have rolls of nickels sitting around to pay off their fines. Mm-hmm. That's what this says. It's completely wrong. Robert Sarver, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, is not a good human being, in my opinion. I've covered that team. I know that guy. I know the way he operates. I know the people around him. And if we're being honest, my personal opinion is James Jones is only the general manager of the Phoenix Suns because he's black. And that was done as a PR stunt because I don't think Bob Sarver cares about black people. I don't think Bob Sarver values women for anything other than their vagina. If I'm being totally honest, that's who Robert Sarver is. That's who his actions say he is. That's who his words say he is. That's who the words of his employees and the people who were witnesses in this investigation, that's who their words say he is. It's embarrassing, in my opinion, that Bob Sarver still owns the Phoenix Suns. And I don't care that he can't be at an NBA facility of any kind or type for the next 12 months. It doesn't matter because in 12 months, the guy that I believe, in my opinion, is a racist and a misogynist is going to be right back at the helm of that franchise.
It's really despicable.
And is there anybody who thinks that Bob Sarver isn't going to have influence or control on that team in the next 12 months? Who are you kidding? He's going to have complete control of that team. He's going to have complete influence on that team. And you know who else I think you have to call out today is Devin Booker and Chris Paul. You're hypocrites if you go back and play for that guy. You know who he is. You know what he's done. You know what he believes. And yet you're still taking his $50 million a year book. It's time to move on. It is time for the players in both the Mercury and the Suns to move on from who that guy is. Because the minute you take a paycheck from that organization, you're co-signing his words and actions. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but I'm sick and tired in this day and age of the N-word being used liberally like it's just no big deal, like it's just another word that people use. I got news for you. It's not. It's damaging, and it's inflammatory, and it's hurtful. When you talk to women about, the size of their breasts being a measuring stick for their ability, you think that's okay. You make those type of comments where you're commenting on a woman's appearance, you're commenting on her sexuality, and you think that's okay. Apparently, Adam Silver thinks it's okay because he's allowing Bob Sarver to continue to own that team.
And with all due respect,
it's despicable. It's disgusting. It's not the right thing to do. And I couldn't be more disappointed with what's going on with Robert Sarver in Phoenix. To me, Jake, I think it's an absolute blight on the face of the NBA.
It's really despicable.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to follow that up. I think that's spot on. I couldn't have really said it better myself. I think that again, I think the problem is that, Adam Silver doesn't really have a lot of other choices. The CBA is very clear in what he can and can't do. And I think he's given the max of what he's capable of doing. And I think the bigger picture issue here is that that's what he has to work with. I mean, honestly, like, I feel like we can all agree Commissioner Silver's done a pretty damn good job with discipline and how things have sort of played out in the NBA to this point. But this particular case has been pretty rough. And I think that I as much as I'm uncomfortable saying that if Book and Chris Paul continue to play here, they're co-signing, I kind of have to agree with that. I mean, you're pissed off the guy is using the N-word, but you're happy to take his $50 million. Like, I think the hesitation from players is, how worth it is it to try to mess with this situation? That's what I think people struggle with. And so I don't know. That's why I say it's a very complex issue. But what's not complex is what he said. What's not complex is that the discipline is not enough. And I think we all agree on that.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
And I equate this. Somebody said this too. I equate this to the LIV tour. Who said this? Oh, yes, Greg Hawkins, I did. Greg Hawkins said, did anyone see that story about the Utah women who went to the game topless with body paint? People were not amused by that. And they got banned. I believe they were Utah students. Mm-hmm. And they got, again, we say banned. Yeah, they're in hot water at Utah. So, everybody goes back to, how do I say this gently? Is there an issue with women using body paint as clothing? There is, because, I mean, you're sexualizing yourself. That's what you're doing, right? I mean, it is not hard to see her gifts to the world, right? It's ridiculous to me that is even allowed. Like, how did they get into the stadium? Like, how did that go unnoticed for as long as it did? Mm-hmm. And I believe it took fan complaints to get action taken. Like, how is that possible? Mm-hmm. I think the problem is that there's a fine line. Is that just good old joshing around and having fun? Hey, look at my boobies in paint. Like, is that what this is?
Well, I think it's very different than dropping the N-bomb repeately in the office.
Yeah,
setting.
I don't think there's a comparison.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I think too many women don't think about the consequences of their words and their actions. Mm. And I think when you go around and you do things like wear body paint, and this is a classic argument about women at the gym, like that women get upset when you look at them at the gym. Well, as men, I think we all know that we sexualize women, like, aggressively. Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
This is fucking America.
It's this thing back and forth. But in a workplace like the Phoenix Suns, it has to be different. I'm not saying it's excusable or okay in a college campus to wear body paint or go half naked at the gym.
I just don't think it's a comparison. Like, it's a totally different.
And I don't know that Greg is comparing the two.
Well, I just don't know why it got brought up then.
Because I think it's a very interesting. I think it's a very interesting situation.
But and I'm not trying to be an asshole about this, excuse my language, but I just don't think they're one and the same. I think it's a different thing. We're talking about an NBA owner who is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, dropping an N-bomb, sending pornography around the office.
Yeah.
Like, obviously saying heinous things to women, as you are outlining. I think this is just it's a different conversation than college students wearing body paint to a football game. Like, I get it. It's well, how is it the same? Like,
because I think men are, because we don't on a societal level, we don't view women as equal. We don't. We have systematically oppressed women, especially in the workplace. I mean, women don't make the same money that men make. Women are not treated the same. Whether it's, the TV stories at Fox about trading sex for promotions, or when you go to a football game wearing body paint, what is your expectation about what's going to happen? You're going to get looked at. You're going to get stared at. You're probably going to have guys, trying to hit on you. You may get groped. Is that okay? Well, it's not, but you went to the game in body paint. So the problem is that we don't do anything about that. That's why this deal with the NBA is so significant. They should have taken ownership away from him. We have to stop this situation where groping a woman because she's wearing body paint is okay. That we sexualize women no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
We value women based on the size of their chest instead of their abilities to create formulas or code data. Women in tech are oppressed and abused on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to stop that. So this situation in Phoenix was an opportunity to send a message. This situation in Washington with the Commanders and Daniel Snyder was an opportunity to send a message. Look what the NBA did. Do you think the NBA accidentally released heinous accusations against Robert Sarver?
Y'all feel me?
That wasn't an accident. The NFL has done everything they can do to hide the accusations against Daniel Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they can do to make sure that people don't find out about the things that he's done. Like, it's two different ways of operating, yet still the NBA falls short. Why can we not be in a situation where unequivocally, we take action against men of power who take action against women who are subordinate to them?
Mm-hmm.
We just don't do it as a society. We've had opportunity after opportunity to do this, and we have rarely, if ever, done it.
Yeah.
Hollywood's one of the few places where we've done that. One of the few places, and the Me Too thing got abused. I'm so frustrated. I'm so tired of talking about equality issues in this country. Mm-hmm. I am just so tired of it. And I don't know how to fix it. That's the problem. You have to talk about this thing with Robert Sarver.
Yeah.
But at what point can we say, yes, justice was done here?
When the punishment feels substantial to the situation.
Because it doesn't feel like the punishment fit the crime.
I think that and again, it's all what I think the real issue is it's processes that prevent the punishment from being just, and that to me works its way out in multiple different scenarios, and I think that like players like Miles Bridges is a great example of this.
Yes.
Like we're quick to cut out a black athlete in the league who has a domestic violence issue, which, admittedly is, based on all accounts and everything was his doing, and he made a mistake. Okay, great. But we're quick to say, yep, he's out of the league, done, see you later. But when it's a white owner who happens to own one of the best up-and-coming teams or one of the best teams in the league or whatever over the last 5 years, we don't want to just be like, hey, yeah, you're gone.
Bob Kraft paid a sex worker.
Yeah.
He didn't even try to argue that.
Yeah.
He didn't even try to argue that. He argued the merits of a warrant because they didn't check a video surveillance box.
Yeah.
Right? So it is absolutely about the color of your skin and the amount of money in your bank account. Look at Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm. Kobe Bryant is revered as a legend and as a motivator, and nobody wants to talk about the fact that, hey, he is accused of a heinous sexual act. Nobody wants to talk about Ben Roethlisberger accused of heinous sexual acts. Man, he was a great quarterback here for Pittsburgh. Man, let's retire his number and put him in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the women that he allegedly sexually abused? Like we choose based on people's skin and net worth how to punish them. And it's completely wrong.
That's every day.
It's completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Harvey Weinstein or any politician you want to point to, or if you're white, rich, and privileged in this country, you do not get prosecuted. Very rarely. Mm-hmm. Very rarely do the Harvey Weinsteins of the world go to jail. And he's only in jail, frankly, because there was a whole movement started by that. Look at Jeffrey Epstein's story.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein,
endless, bro.
Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein is a perfect example of a guy who was in and out of jail based on how much money he had.
Yeah.
And who that money was flowing to. I look at Robert Sarver. I cannot tell you that these accusations are not new. I can't say that enough. These are decades-old allegations. These rumors and innuendos have been around for years.
Yes.
Man. For years. And he's getting a 1-year suspension, and they fined him $10 million. And it's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I mean, what feels appropriate is that he shouldn't own the team anymore. That's what feels appropriate.
Yeah.
Not even a monetary thing.
Yep. Ruff's official says, how many millionaire players have done and said things inappropriate or been accused of crimes? Where are the calls for them to be banned? They're banned routinely.
Yeah, what do you mean, bro?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I mean, whether it's Ray Rice, whether it is And I will say, I just think if you're convicted of domestic violence or you plead guilty, you should never play a sport again. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Being a professional athlete is absolutely a privilege. It is not a right. It is you're playing a game for tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
If you are convicted, I have always said if you're convicted of a felony, you should not be allowed to play a professional sport again. Period. Fighting, like how is John Jones in the UFC still allowed to fight after all of the things he's done? Facts. How is a guy like Conor McGregor still allowed to fight after all the things he's done?
Because they are who they are, and we put them on pedestals.
They make people money.
Yeah.
That's why. But the number of athletes who have been banned or gone to jail, and I mean, I don't know specifically who you're referencing, but you know. Brett Burnett says, might be the lady's fault for giving birth to us crazies. Exactly my point. He also says, not to be preachy, but there's a plan for all of us, and the solution to fix it has been done by the perfect one, Monty. Well, you know, not everybody can be perfect like me. That's
right.
For sure. Ken Williams says they are not going to make someone sell a team and make them money. I actually think if you made Robert Sarver sell the team, you would make far more money because you would charge the person buying the team. The Phoenix Suns would win on a much higher, more consistent level than they have. By the way, did anybody notice when all these accusations got real, all of a sudden he started spending money on the team on the floor? Because what if they were the worst team in the NBA as they had been for years, right now, today? My guess is he probably is going to sell the team. Mm-hmm. That would be my guess. But now they've got a stadium renovation. They're building practice facility. They're making more money.
Yes.
You know, like...
It's no secret, man. These guys know how to operate. Like, it's not a surprise.
Not at all. Brett Burnett says, people just need to realize everyone has problems of some types. It's how we learn and grow. Yeah, some shouldn't be forgiven. Some should be, no. Ken Williams says, Kobe didn't even go there. I know the woman he did that to. Okay. Ruff's official says, how did Kobe not get prosecuted? He settled out of court. And he went to trial, by the way. You may remember. But he settled out of court.
Yep.
You know, I'm not saying that anybody needs to be perfect. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination.
We're asking you not to utter the N-word repeatedly at the office. We're not asking you to be perfect. I think that that's not an unreasonable thing to ask.
But as Ken Williams points out, when Ray Rice punches his wife in the face, he should never be allowed to play again.
Yeah.
You know, the only reason he was banned or, you know, theoretically banned is because it was on videotape.
I've always stood on my
innocence.
The truth.
That's the truth. And money buys you privilege in this country. Period. Greg Hawkins says, how is Conor McGregor still fighting after taking that giant L to Khabib in 2018? Well, that's another question. Mainly because he threw a guardrail at him. Robert Leith says, honestly, I stopped watching football a long time ago. It got really cringe when they started kneeling, but it got worse when they openly endorsed Hillary. I don't know what politics have to do with it, Robert. Like, what does politics have to do with anything? Luis Campazzo, what's up, man? Not for us to judge, and we should try and forgive everyone. It will eat is up.
I think you meant to say it'll eat us up.
Yeah, could be. Brett Burnett, the kneeling stuff just crazy and does ruin it. No.
We ain't got time.
No, I ain't doing it. It is 12:25 in the great state of Utah. Don't forget, we will be off tomorrow for traveling. We are actually coming back to the great state of Utah tomorrow. You will feel the sonic boom as though it was a meteor coming through the sky.
Bro, did you just call me fat?
Yes. You will feel a sonic boom, and all the people will freak out and think it was a nuke or an alien, as my wife did several weeks ago when a meteor came through the atmosphere in the great state of Utah. You know, you'll feel our presence. That's the force as we return to the Beehive State to resume our domination. Okay, moving on. Don't forget. Nothing?
Nope.
You have nothing to add to that.
Keep
nothing
going.
to add to that. Okay. One of the things I want to talk about is Utah real estate. Now that we've reached the non-sports story portion
of the program.
Here's a question for you. Is Salt Lake City in the state of Utah heading for a housing crash. There's a new Moody's study out that projects real estate in the state of Utah. How much trouble are we in, Jake?
Yeah, so the study basically says that they're predicting inside of 12 months that there will be and this is nationally, there will be a 5 to 10% decrease in home values. But they go a step further with it, and this is kind of what caught my attention. They basically said that housing markets, so places like Boise, like nationally, places like Boise, Phoenix, Dallas, that type of market that's tremendously overvalued are vulnerable to 15 to 20% price declines because their price is so high right now. So when I'm reading, hey, over half the nation's largest regional housing markets are vulnerable to home price declines of 15 to 20%, that's freaking scary. That's a huge drop-off. And again, they're saying that this is going to happen sometime inside of 12 months. And so to me, when I look at this, the problem is that there are a ton of cities in Salt Lake that are on this map. Now, they don't give you a list per se, but they give you a map that basically says, like a couple of the big ones are Provo, Salt Lake, Ogden, and Clearfield. Those 4 particularly are massively overpriced.
They're saying that Ogden and Clearfield
are 50%, man.
50% overvalue in Ogden and Clearfield.
You look at Salt Lake City proper is 28% overvalued.
Oh, man.
And so that's what's kind of scary. But also, I mean, as usual, it depends on the situation you're in. Again, it's no secret, right? I rent right now. I pay $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. It's heavy. It's expensive. It's overpriced. Yes, it is. However, I've been in this waiting game. I've been waiting for stories like this to come out. So if you're someone in my position, you definitely should be preparing yourself because there is going to be a decline. It's going to happen.
Well, what I think is interesting is that we've talked a lot about mortgage on this show, and again, we're partnering with Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. And a lot of people ask us, well, is now the right time to get in? Now's a great time to get in because you have good interest rates, but you have to negotiate. When you see statistics like, hey, Ogden and Clearfield, are 50% overvalued, you have to go in there and you have to negotiate.
Yes.
Because what you're seeing is the price of homes are coming down, but days on market are going up. So those houses are sitting. I think if you're an aggressive, savvy, patient negotiator, you're going to win these deals. If you understand what the true value of that house is, you're going to win these deals. And it's why I say there's 2 things you need to win a real estate transaction in this market. Number 1, you better have the best mortgage guy that you've ever talked to because you need to be able to walk into a house and say, okay, I'm a cash buyer. I'm ready to go. And that's why, again, we always tell you Devery Davis is the guy to go to because I think that you need somebody that can put you in that position to win. And one of the things that I always say also is once you have your mortgage in line, then you go and find a real estate agent. And you may have a relationship in place already. If you don't, call me, text me, DM me. I have great real estate agents that I know well. But you better have a good real estate agent. Your realtor and your mortgage guy have to be lockstep. And a lot of people don't understand that. In this market, if you just go, hey, Jenny, I found you on Google, went on Zillow and found you as a real estate agent. Can you write me an offer on this house? They're going to be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Cool. And you're going to write a number for full price. You're going to pay $100,000 over what it's actually worth. Do you know how long it's going to take you to recover from that? Your ideal situation when you're buying a house is you're going to buy a house and walk into equity, right? That's your ideal situation. But so many people don't know how real estate works, and they want to say to their realtor, oh, hey, who should I use for a mortgage? No, friends. Go find your mortgage first. Go get your financial house in order. Go talk to a mortgage professional like Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. And, hey, what do I need to do here? Because what your mortgage person should do for you is they're going to give you what's called a pre-qualification letter that's going to say, hey, yes, Jimmy Smith is qualified to buy this house for $600,000. And the letter's literally going to say, Jimmy Smith is qualified to buy a house up to $1,700,000, $500,000. They're going to pre-qualify you. And when you go to a good, real estate professional, which is what I think mortgage brokers are, when you find a mortgage broker that understands real estate, they're going to tell you, hey, give me, what house are you looking at? Okay, we've gone through pre-qualification. We've given you your letter. Okay, what house are we looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Send me the multiple listing service number, because every house has a number. Send that to your mortgage person. Okay, this is FHA. This has to go conventional. They don't do VA. Right? Hey, here's the down payment program this house qualifies for. You don't have to put any money down. Mm-hmm. Hey, we have a program to cover 50% of your down payment. Those are real things. But when you're looking at Clearfield and Ogden being 50% inflated, so if that house is listed at $600, it's only worth $300. What a huge, if you're a 30-year-old, if you're a 30-year-old kid trying to buy your first house and you're paying 50% more for that house than it's worth, man, that's a huge problem.
Yes.
How long do you wait to buy a house?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to wait, you got to pay close attention to it, because it's gonna happen fast. And I would say, it's probably, like what are we in, September right now? I mean, my window and my strategy was going to be, like before I saw this, was going to be to look to buy in the spring. Wait another 2 quarters or so and see kind of what happens and where we go from here. But I have to say, like, it's hard for me to be like, I'm going to pay, let's call it 30% more, let's say, or, whatever the number is. I still struggle with that. The problem is that 5 to 6% interest rates are still reasonable.
Yes.
When you look back over time.
Historically, 5% is a great interest rate.
And my real problem is, and this is obviously the one that slaps me in the face every month when I pay it, but paying $1,700 for a 1-bedroom is just rough. Like, I think, that same money can get you much more, and that's what I struggle with. Yeah,
I totally agree. Let's get some of your thoughts in here. Well, I mean, that would be great. Brett Burnett says, you don't want a mortgage, just buy with cash. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, man, that's really, wow.
Most people,
that's pretty much self-explanatory.
Most people can't afford to buy a house with cash. And the mortgage industry quite literally powers the economy.
Yeah, and I would make a good argument that buying a house with a mortgage is more advantageous than losing your liquidity.
Yeah, I would tell you not to buy a house with cash.
Yeah.
Don't please, if you're buying investment property, please don't buy them cash. That just makes very little sense. You should be able to take that money and make it go further. Like if you're buying a $250,000 investment property and you pay cash for that. So let's say out the door, your total cash investment's $255,000, right? You give up $255,000 in cash. If you'd have kept that $255,000 and mortgaged it, you could have bought 2 of those at least.
Mm-hmm.
So you're limiting yourself and your liquidity. And by the way, if you are really buying investment properties, open an LLC and buy it through your LLC.
Yeah.
Right? There's just so many ways to do that, because now it becomes a tax write-off on a different level. And there's just so many questions about, hey, should we buy cash or not? I just think that it is, I think it's a very difficult thing to do. Ken Williams says, got to go to work, guys. Peace out. Great show. Have a safe trip back. Thanks, Ken. Always appreciate you being here, dude.
Appreciate you.
Let's see. Ruff's official says, Jake, tell us more about buying a house. I think he's mocking you, Jake.
Wait, Ruff's official is mocking us?
I think.
What?
Brett Burnett says, I buy with cash. It has always been a better deal. Plenty of clients prefer cash than risky leverage portfolio. Well, I mean, if you're into a risky leverage portfolio, I would tell you that's a mistake too. There's a right way and a wrong way to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think so many people, having worked in real estate and worked with both consumers and investors, so many people have no idea what it takes to buy a house.
Yeah.
They just have no idea. They don't understand who pays for an appraisal. They don't understand who pays for an inspection. They don't understand why you shouldn't get your inspection waived. Like so many people are like, oh, I'll waive all of these inspections and appraisals. I'll just buy it.
Yeah.
That's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
You should never do that. Never waive your inspection period. Like all these little things that people just don't know how to operate or how to navigate the water on stuff. And it's as simple as understanding what you don't know. You have to know what you don't know. And when you're buying a house in this market, man, I'm telling you, if you're paying $300,000 or $600,000 for a house that's worth $300,000, you will never recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never recover from that. You have to understand what that house is worth. Before the pandemic, what was the last thing it sold for? What are comparable properties selling for before the pandemic?
Yeah.
Because the chances are that house's pre-pandemic value is going to be pretty close to what it's worth now. And the truth is, it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. What are you willing to pay for it? Because if you're patient and you write the right kind of offers, you'll win a house. You will go out Saturday, you will write offers on Monday, and you will win a house by Tuesday. That's my guess. If you have your mortgage stuff in line, and if you have a guy like Devery Davis, and Devery, yes, Devery is an advertiser, but I can tell you that Devery Davis has written 3 mortgages for us. Mm-hmm. And the difference with Devery is that he's a guy who you can call and say, hey, I'm looking at this house. Is this a good decision? What are your thoughts on this? Whether you're looking at an investment or you're like, he's talked me out of more investment properties than I care to admit.
Yeah.
Whether it's here on Maui or in Daybreak or, I mean, like, we've looked at a lot of them. You better have somebody you trust, and that's in your mortgage side and in your realtor side.
Yes.
As well, because if your cousin Jimmy is a real estate agent and he's going to do his first transaction with you, you're making a huge mistake.
Y'all want to play.
You're making a huge mistake. The other thing I would tell you to do, sit with your realtor while they write the contract. Sit there and watch them write the contract. Do they know how to write a real estate contract? Do they have to go to their broker to get help to write the real estate contract? Do they know what boxes to check on the real estate contract? There's a lot of realtors who don't know how to write a real estate purchase contract. It's crazy.
Hell no.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
We bought some property here in Maui, and the people we were buying it from didn't know how to do all the paperwork correctly. It was an incredible, eye-opening process.
How is that even possible?
Now, that was a win for us.
Right.
But it's amazing to me that people under major nameplates don't know how to do business.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is incredible. By the way, if you're thinking about getting a mortgage or if you're thinking about buying an investment property, my guy, Devery Davis, call him, talk to him about it because he's an incredible mortgage guy. He just has so much experience. There's nobody that knows the Utah real estate market like Devery Davis. He understands down payments. There's so many down payment programs, whether you're a first-time buyer, a police officer, a veteran.
Yes.
Do you understand what the VA actually does? Do you understand that you're not getting a loan from the VA? The VA is guaranteeing your loan, right? So you're still getting a loan from a financial institution. The Veterans Administration just backs that up if you're VA eligible, right? So there's all of these questions and things you need to understand. And 9 out of 10 people who buy houses have no idea how that stuff works. They truly do not. So make sure you call Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage, 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278545. Devery Davis and the Davis Lending Team at Academy Mortgage are equal housing lenders. All right, so here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Here is a question for you. Are you a resort person or are you an Airbnb person?
Resort all day. Not even close.
I am a resort person, and it's not close. Now, I used to be an Airbnb person. So we've experienced both on this trip to Hawaii. So we only took this trip to Hawaii at this time because my sister-in-law got married last week on Kona, on the island of Kona, Hawaii, the Hawaiian island, Kona.
Yes.
We stayed in an Airbnb, and it was wildly uncomfortable.
No.
Huge house, koa wood everywhere.
The house was amazing itself.
But termite damage, doorknobs that don't work, because it doesn't have air conditioning, there's a humidity problem. The ceiling fan didn't blow air. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
So then we come to Maui, and we stay with Westin, the Westin Resorts. We stay at the Westin Maui, and it's just a delightful experience. The pools, having a kitchenette so that Mrs. Monty's making pancakes for breakfast, and I don't think there's any doubt I'm a resort guy.
Yeah, and I think the trouble is that resorts are expensive. They are, but in my opinion, it is worth it. My take has always been, how many weeks a year are you on the Maui-esque vacation? How many weeks a year are you willing to treat yourself? And I think that for me, it's worth it. I think that we work our ass off, man. With transitioning away from the 9 to 5 and doing this full time, we don't really have days off, man. It just doesn't exist for us anymore. So To me, when I go or we go out on the road, I got to have high-speed internet to do the show. I got to have air conditioning. I got to have a room where I can control the lighting.
Yes.
I got to have controllables and setups. I got to be able to go out and snorkel and hike and do all this crazy stuff that's super fun, but also super taxing, and come home to a nice bed that's air conditioned so I can sleep. That's what I want. Not rocket science. That's expensive. Yes, it is. But to me, it's worth it.
Yeah, I am a resort guy all the way. Now, will I stay in Airbnbs? Yes, absolutely. But when I come to Maui, I stay at the Westin. Mm-hmm. When I go to Tahoe, I stay at the Westin. Like Tahoe, the thing about resorts is resorts are going to put me on the mountain, especially for snow, which I value a huge amount. And in the wintertime, I want a hot tub, right? Now, is this me being a snob? Yes. Yes, it is. Absolutely. But I've gotten accustomed to a certain level of travel. And
excuse me, the proper nomenclature is accommodations.
A certain level of accommodations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love, one of the things I really like at the Westins, the beds are unbelievably comfortable.
Yes.
You don't get that hip pain or your shoulder pain.
The pillows still suck, though.
The
right?
pillows were not good at the Westin.
You gotta remember to bring your pillow, bro.
I do, and I don't know why I don't, and I should, and I will from now on. But the beds are comfortable. The bed at the Airbnb, my collarbone hurt. I sleep on my side. My collarbone hurt. My hip hurt. I'd sleep on my back. My back hurt. Like at the Westin, I've slept really well.
Yeah.
Really well. I like the pool. I like the beach. I like the fact that if I don't want to leave the property, there's Duke's is a great restaurant. I get everything that I want, and I get great air conditioning too. I'm pumped. By the way, the showers at the Westin Maui.
Incredible. Bro.
So good.
Incredible.
So good.
My
Absolutely.
God.
All right, let's see what you guys say. Greg Hawkins says, I prefer to pay for my houses exclusively with pennies and nickels. Who are you, Robert Sarver? Hullabilly laughs at that one. Brett Burnett says, smart one, Greg. Robert Leith says, I've been an electrician for over 27 years. Oh, congratulations, Robert. And I get paid very well, but even I, a pretty well-off guy, know that houses are overly expensive. Thank you, Obama. What does Barack Obama have to do with the price of houses? Brett Burnett says, material of the coin going to be worth more than the house. Okay, not a house guy. I can see Brent. Greg Hawkins says, that way I feel like being Scrooge McDuck counting my riches. I like it.
Saudi stooge.
I like it. Hullabilly says resorts 100%. Robert Leith says, I prefer Airbnb just because of versatility. You can stay at a lot of different properties. Absolutely true. Greg says, been in both resorts and Airbnbs. Lived in an Airbnb for 3 months when I first moved to the Philippines. Airbnb has its place, but it can be weird rules and weird owners. Hotels all the way for me.
By the way, another portion of this conversation, rental car company or things like Turo.
Okay, so you really dominated the Turo thing here in Hawaii.
Yes, I had a great
Why did you enjoy it?
Well, I liked that I could choose the kind of car I got, and there was more selection. I liked that I could get a car that was affordable but also did what I needed it to do. So I wasn't looking for a huge Tahoe or a tiny little, Prius. I was looking for a compact crossover that could travel well and was comfortable to drive around in, because you do some driving while you're in Hawaii. And the cool thing was the experience of picking it up and dropping it off was the best part. Like, I literally had them drop the car off in our first week on the Big Island in Kona. I had them drop it off at the house. It was very easy, and they came back and picked it up when I needed them to, and it was really easy. And it's all through an app, and it's just very straightforward. And the only thing I would change about it is I would probably just pick the car up or have them drop it at an airport, because you can do remote pickup as well. They have lock boxes and stuff. So,
oh, wow.
So to me, I just felt like the Turo experience was good. Now, again, first time ever using Turo, 2 cars in, I'm sure that issues come up. I'm sure that there are, things that I'll experience as I continue to use Turo. But I was pretty happy with it.
I like it a lot. I'll try it. Maybe next time we come here to the great state of Hawaii. I will try it. Marlon Shaw says, wow, tuned into a sports show and got vacation show broke out. LOL. Just busting your chops. Marlon, good to see you, man. Good to see you, Marlon Shaw.
Casual.
Hey, by the way, if you're here right now, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the show grow. Couple more. Ruff's official says, only staying at resorts, looking down at cost-friendly airlines, but can't afford to buy a house. Well,
Who said I can't afford to buy a house?
Yeah, I don't know that anybody on this show said they can't afford to buy a house. I think it's just not the right time to buy a house. If you buy a house now, you're going to have to negotiate and be savvy. And the kind of house you're looking for, I think it's going to be tough to find. But I would tell you that you can afford. Jake can absolutely.
I
love
that you, Ruff's official, assume that like you can't, that I can't afford to buy a house, or somehow that we're, I guess, struggling or something. That's just not the case, bro. We're
Not
making
at all.
more money now than we made at the 9 to 5. Like, how do you think we left our 9 to 5? You think we left our 9 to 5 and put ourselves in a bad spot? No, obviously not.
Yeah, I think the American way is to buy a Lamborghini when you live in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we as Americans always do, and I've never quite understood that. I really don't. I've never. Let's see. Marlon Shaw says, old topic, but I decided last minute to go to the BYU game from Florida. What a great decision on my part. Great game and great time with the grandkids. Oh, nice,
Hey.
Marlon. Glad you enjoyed that. Lopes fan Gabe says, our experience was that you get what you pay for when it comes to rental cars on Maui. Try going with a local company that offered cheaper rates on an older fleet. It was rough. Oh, Gabe. Interesting. Very interesting. I couldn't. Mrs. Monty kind of books all of our travel. That's one of her things she's passionate about. But I don't know that I could do like Jimmy's Jeep rental.
No, well, and again, that's the other thing I like about Turo. I can pick my car. So, like, as an example,
Turo worked out really well for you.
We had a cross trek on Maui, and we had a Honda, little crossover Honda on Kona, and both of them were, relatively newer cars with good amount of mileage.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of controllables in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not ready for Turo yet. I'm not. Number one rule of travel, Greg says, pack half as much as you think you need and bring twice as much money. Yes. Yes, I overpacked on this trip, no doubt about it. Robert Lee says, I went to Tom Brady's first game. It was extremely hilarious to see that quarterback get injured. Do you mean, why can't I, Drew Bledsoe? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Robert also says, honestly, I'm really enjoying this podcast. It's up there with Steve Crowder and Ben Shapiro. I appreciate the insights. Well, we appreciate you being here. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's a huge compliment. Finally, Brent Burnett says, you're right, Greg. Yeah. I think packing light is a life hack.
Yeah.
And I'm never good at it. My wife is the person that will roll all of her clothes. And by the way, for everybody asking where Mrs. Monty is, she'll be back on the show next week.
Yeah.
And she'll be at the remote on Saturday, the live broadcast Saturday at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh.
Speaking of resorts.
Yeah, speaking of resorts, really looking forward to that. Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh, noon on Saturday. Noon to 1, we will be doing the football Saturday show. So looking forward to seeing everybody. Come on out. It costs you absolutely nothing. We're going to have all kinds of great Papa Murphy's pizza there. It is going to be a great time. We're going to have wings from Don's on the Traeger smokers.
Don's.
It's going to be amazing. Final shout out of the show today goes to our good friends at Tri-Day Trading. Our newest sponsor on the show is Tri-Day Trading, and they have been somebody that I know a lot of people have asked us about and had a lot of questions about. It's all in black and white on their website. Go to trydaytrading.com/Monty. It is the single best side hustle I've ever seen. And if you follow the show for any amount of time, you know that we used to buy Amazon crates, repurpose, resell that stuff on eBay. What a pain that was. Amazon FBA, we actually made good money selling on Amazon, but it was a lot of work, a lot of postage. We've sold all kinds of things. The guys at Tri-Day Trading have the absolute best side hustle because you can scale it into a full-time gig, which I think everybody wants to get out of their 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. Go look at the free webinar. All you have to do is go trydaytrading.com/The Monty Show, or /Monty, trydaytrading.com/Monty. It's free. You don't have to, you have no obligation. You just fill out a form, watch the webinar, and decide what you want to do. If you want to move forward, great. If you don't, great. It's no obligation. It's no cost. It's their free webinar at trydaytrading.com. Just go check it out. It helps the show a lot when you go to trydaytrading.com/Monty. We appreciate you. Without going to our sponsors, obviously the show doesn't succeed. So whether it's the way you guys have already watched, a lot of the webinar at Tri-Day Trading, our good friends at Barbecue Pit Stop, Devery Davis, just our guys at Papa Murphy's. We have
Wayman
such
Brothers.
good relation. Wayman Brothers Construction, who we're going to start talking about a lot more again next week. They're working on a project for us now. Hint. So there's a big announcement coming on that project,
Yes.
which I'm really excited about. But check them out online. TryDayTrading.com/Monty. Okay, so just to clarify some schedule stuff, we will be back live Friday morning in Utah.
In studio.
Back in the Monty Show compound.
In the crib.
It's going to be nice to be back home.
Yes,
I
it
am
is.
really excited about that.
Yes.
We leave Maui tonight. We fly the red eye from Maui to Salt Lake City tonight, which I'm really stoked about. We'll be back tomorrow, and then we will be back on the show Friday. And then don't forget, Saturday, noon, Barbecue Pit Stop. Lehigh is where we will be doing the Football Saturday show. Our good friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza are going to give us 12 large pizzas. Don's Meats are giving us a ton of wings.
Mostly flats.
No, mostly drums. Idiot. We'll put all of those on the smoker. We will kick anybody out who brings blue cheese dressing to the event. We will not
Kick it, will flow.
We're going to have a magnetometer that picks out blue cheese dressing, so if you hide it in your pocket, we'll know. I'm totally kidding.
Greg.
But it's good, Greg. It's going to be amazing on Saturday. We'll watch the BYU-Oregon game. Halftime of the game, we are going to draw the winner of the BYU drive-away to see BYU and Notre Dame in the Shamrock Series in Las Vegas. 2 nights at the Palms, 2 tickets to the game, and a $250 gas card to get you there. That is Saturday at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh at noon for football Saturday. Whew. Jake, our stay in Hawaii is over.
It's over, man.
That's it.
It's that quick.
Show's done. Thanks for sticking with us. I know it's been an odd little journey through the islands here in Hawaii. We've had everything from internet trouble to rain trouble to equipment trouble, but it's over. We made it.
We made it.
Appreciate you guys being here. We'll be back Friday morning, bright and early at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time. Until Friday, Jake, say aloha, brah.
Aloha, brah.